Guten Morgen, RotoGrinders. Dean here. That's Dean 78904. Start 2.5 plus hours of NFL DFS talk. Week 10, double digits on the back end of the season. It's flying by for sure. Usual suspects. We got myself, 2/3 of the Tournament Takes podcast. You got Chris Kirkwood, who's fired up this morning. You got Bobby Gomes, who's got his Duncan. He's ready to go as well. Kirkwood, how are things? You're a little fired up about MMA last night for a little pre-show conversation. Apparently,
yeah, I was going to have a massive night if Adesanya just held on for the win, and I took a big swing there. So it wasn't fun to be minus 6,000 going into the final fifth round and then getting caught. And also, it wasn't fun being scared just knowing that it could happen at any moment. It was very tense. So. Yeah, but this slate is not very fun either. It's kind of a hard slate, at least for me so far. Yeah, so we normally go through like position by position players, and I guess we'll do that as well. I feel like this is a good slate to have like a conversation about. How about yourself, Bobby? What is your take as far as this slate? Because is there anybody like you really love? Is there any player that just kind of stands out? Like if you put. So, like, Dameon Pierce is, like, the chalk right now. If you put him on last week's slate, if you were, like, we do the rankings. Some of us do the rankings. And, like, if you would have ranked running backs last week and you put Pierce where his matchup is this week as of, in last week, he's number one right now this week. Last week he would have been, like, 9th, maybe 10th, maybe off the board. Whatever the chalk is, I think it's bad chalk. And I'm feeling frisky. I feel like you're supposed to be distinctly different this week in tournaments. Obviously, cash, different conversation. It's a weird one, man. I assume, you're never afraid, no matter what the chalk is, to get a little bit different. So I imagine you probably like this slate.
Yeah, I do actually like this slate. I know a lot of people around the industry kind of hate this slate for tournaments, but I think there is interesting strategy, and you kind of hit on it with Pierce. I'm under the field currently on Pierce. What I'm doing right now is I have Pollard locked in with, not locked in completely, but locked in with Dallas D. In the swap, if Zeke is ruled out. And I think this is the way to kind of think about it and try to get ahead of it, because Pollard would be by far the best play on the slate if Zeke gets ruled out. And if you pair him with Dallas D and Zeke doesn't get ruled out, you can swap to Jacobs, who I think is a really good play on the slate, and go to Arizona defense, or Jonathan Taylor in Arizona defense. So I think that's like a good starting point for how to approach the slate in tournaments. And that's currently where I'm at.
I love that, and I had a similar line of thinking with Jonathan Taylor. I'm thinking I have Pollard locked in basically every single one of my FanDuel lineups. And we should say 4 o'clock game, we don't have the actives and inactives until an hour and a half before the game starts. Zeke, there was talk of him probably coming back, but then there's talk about him like having to warm up first. And, he's obviously not as good as Pollard too, which is a whole other conversation. But Jerry Jones is historically really stubborn. He's getting paid a bunch of money. I just can't see Zeke being the guy to like grind this game down when it's 30 degrees. If like Dallas is up by 10 in the fourth quarter, I suppose he could be, but I feel, and even if Pollard gets like 50% of the snaps, which is whatever his standard is, 45, and he's still fine, but the ceiling is so good.
I think if it becomes a dual backfield, you just swap to Jacobs or Taylor.
All right, let me give some thoughts on this.
Yeah, this is a huge sticking point, because I think even if Zeke's like active, I'm still going to play plenty of Pollard.
I think
that's interesting.
I think every single person, it's obvious to me. So I was coming into this show being like, I'm going to lock Pollard and I'm going to switch to Taylor or Jacobs. And then now I look in chat, and the kiss of death right here is Herbert Good saying Pollard lock City. So I think that this is like the absolute mega chalk is Pollard. I think every single DFS player thinks they're like, oh, we're on this. We're going to be ahead. People are going to forget because he's not projecting well. But I think everybody's doing it.
That's interesting. Go ahead, Bobby.
So I don't think like in 150 people are going to be able to get maybe it's kind of difficult to just like you're taking a big risk if you lock him, and then you're playing like Henry and Barkley under the field at a significant clip. So you have to play him. I don't know. I don't think his ownership will get as high as we think.
Currently, Pollard, for what it's worth, on our ownership projection, and again, this stuff is fluid, and it's really hard. They have to kind of middle it, I suppose, because who knows what's going to happen with Zeke, and again, that news is going to drop later. 18% on VK, 20% on FanDuel. So they're kind of anticipating it, I guess. Or maybe they're middling it, right? Because if Zeke was officially in and Zeke was like totally healthy, I don't think Pollard at 7K on FanDuel will be 20% owned. Like, I don't think he would be, 18% owned on DK. Is that fair to say, Kirkwood? If Zeke was perfectly fine?
Yeah, but I don't think Zeke is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
And we go through this. They always do this with Zeke. Like Jerry Jones is like, yep, he's on track to play. He's gonna play, and then he gets held out. He gets held out. He gets out. It just doesn't make sense. They're not gonna. A, he sucks. And B, and B, they're not gonna risk it. And so let me just tell you what I did here, because I don't know.
I don't know.
No, there is none. But they still have so much money invested in this guy.
Yeah.
But last week, I think my exact words were, "Let's talk about Joe Mixon. He sucks." I think I said that, and Mixon buried me last week. So Zeke might be the play. Watch Zeke be the play today somehow, some way. But yeah, I mean,
like 4 1-yard touchdowns though. That's how he gets there.
And I literally played him on Yahoo the 1 week when he actually scored touchdowns, and I was the only one with him, and it didn't matter because Jacobs just buried me later. It was the day where Jacobs was chalk. But my whole thesis was he's going to fall into the end zone twice, and he fell into the end zone twice. Exactly it was exactly what happened.
I had him that week too, but it didn't do anything because all the good run, the chalk running backs, 3 of them. I think Eckler was another one. The whole pile of guys went absolutely crazy.
It just made it hurt. It a lot worse because it was the 4 o'clock. It was Jacobs and someone else that just
Eckler.
went absolute. I think it was someone else who just went absolutely.
There's 3 guys.
There.
It was Jacobs, Eckler, and there's a third person that they all smashed, and it was worthless. Your Zeke, your Zeke shares. Howard scored too, and it was worthless also. Should mention, by the way, as far as later games, we're not going to have official word, but the Arizona game against the Rams, both quarterbacks not expected to play. We'll see. Kyler Murray and Matthew Stafford likely out, 38.5 total for that game. John Wolford and Colt McCoy, get excited. That's likely to go down surprisingly. Josh Allen appears to be good to go today in Buffalo. I did not think he was going to play, but looks like he's going to be starting. Tannehill expected back for what it's worth. We have no value on this slate. We're going to have I'm curious if any of you guys have a thought as far as your favorite cheap wide receiver, because there's one I was considering it just opening stuff up. I guess the other conversation I wanted to have is 2 tight ends on DK. If you're running optimals, now Kirkwood, I know you're running optimals all throughout the industry and you're on top of the stuff here at RG is spitting out 2 tight ends. And I know most people don't want to play 2 tight ends. And this is a cash conversation. You want to have that, but I'm curious for tournaments, does that hurt your ceiling? Of course, it opens up. You can just 2 stars and scrubs. Hopefully your tight ends get fall into the end zone. You get yourself 12 points or something like that. Now you have a ceiling for several 40-plus point players. You can spend up on Barkley or Adams, or you get your doubles for Miami. It's really hard to do, obviously. 2 tight ends, Kirkwood. What's your take today?
I don't see it, but who the hell wants to play 2 tight ends unless it's Travis Kelce is included in that mix? Because tight end is a wasteland this week. It's disgusting.
I'm with Kirky. I think you just make the group Kelce and then Max. If you're playing basically at most one of the other cheap tight ends. So the only way you get it is if it's Kelce. But
you see what I'm seeing, right, Bobby? You run some stuff. And
I see. Yeah, I ran it. I saw it. Yeah, but I don't want to play dual tight ends.
Do you think people are going to do that?
Let me see who's doing that. Okay.
You're naming specific people you're talking about? Yeah, I'm telling you. Dolce.
I'm running optimals on.
I see who's doing. I see what's going on. We have it.
Let me just make sure I don't have checked because tight end. Oh no, you know what it is? I already took out the check of the tight end and the flex, so I'm no one has it.
But
wouldn't you want to check it? You're probably going to get some.
Wouldn't you just rather slam Kelce at that point?
It's just
Kelsey's at that point a 7,800 wide receiver. If you like him better than the wide receiver options, absolutely, yeah.
Well, that's the other thing is, what wide receivers do you like in the 3 and 4K area, Bobby? Because running back. There's no running backs essentially to under 5K. I don't think. Maybe the dude for Pittsburgh is 4.9. I want to say. if you want to go that way. As far as the beat speculating coming off a bye, they're talking about Jalen Warren might get some more than Harris, but also Warren came out and said, like, my practice stuff hasn't changed. Who knows? But it's hard to save money at running back. We can just say that, right? Or just in general, where are the salary savers? We don't have and we have some. If you want to play some Wolford at quarterback, do you want to do that?
Yeah, I am playing a little bit of Warren, trying to get ahead of it. Just thinking he's better than Najee. Jeff Wilson. I think Jeff Wilson's priced like how he should be priced, and then Mostert's expensive at $6K. I would just play Wilson. But in terms of like cheap wide receivers, it's going to be Mac Hollins for a lot of people. I don't mind going to Khalif Raymond. I'll be a little bit over on Raymond. Treylon Burks, like if he's at 3K, be separating from Henry, but I don't know. I think it's his first week back. We got to kind of hear stuff on his snap count and stuff.
That's the one that kind of hit me last night, by the way. I want to talk about that one because I was going through it, and this guy, big time prospect. Yeah. He essentially just jumps right in. He's the number one target in Tennessee, right? Because who else is there by default? And Tannehill's back as well. What have we heard here, Kirkwood? You got anything as far as pitch count here for Burks? Because I think he's really interesting at 3K if he's like on the field a standard amount.
I don't think we're going to get anything on pitch count. I think
what are you hearing?
We just have to assume, right? And like that he's good to go. He's back from IR. He's been practicing, and he's 3K. So let's rock. Let's go.
T from LOC.
Come on. Welcome to the team, Treylon. Welcome to the Kirkdiese team.
I'm with Kirky on this take. The other one, there's two others. Sky Moore, like he's at 3K. You're taking out Hardman. I know Hardman runs like those goal line. He's not really involved much in the passing game, but I think at 3K you can kind of consider him. MVS is right there at 4.2 around Hollins. Like these guys, I think are interesting. Nico Collins, he's at 4K. Like there's not much to love, but there's plays.
Yeah, Moore should get somewhat of a bump. Tony should get a bump as well. I would imagine his snap count will grow. They did trade for him. He didn't play a ton of snaps the game his first game there, but the absence of Hardman opened some stuff up there. And just the difference between 3K and like 4 or 5 or what. Like I see Aaron in chat talking about it. No, it was Mr. Richard talking about Zay Jones. Like just to be able to save 1,500 is huge because the cap is just so tight. It's and the 3K. Would you rather have the receiver for Tennessee, Kirkwood, or would you rather have like Foster Moreau? This is kind of like the 2 tight end conversation.
Yeah, give me Treylon. But welcome to let's talk about this. So the cheap wide receivers are like in every build right now, right? And it's like they're going to be chalky, like with whether people play Donovan Peoples-Jones, whether people play Zay Jones, because of the bringbacks for Kansas City, they just fit. Mac Hollins at 4,200 without Renfro and Waller. But like these guys are all very shaky plays, right? Like you don't get that warm and fuzzy that I got like a couple weeks ago when I was making my Tua and Waddle and Tyreek stacks. Like I was like, this lineup is not losing, and you don't get that today. Like Donovan Peoples-Jones chalk just is very scary, at least to me. So it's very thin. So like now, is there any mid-range that we can kind of change our builds to that makes you feel better? Well, Amari Cooper is a guy that like stands out to me, makes me feel a little bit better. But there's really not much else in like the mid-range, so it's kind of tough. I don't know, man. This like I said, that this is just a tough overall slate. So as far as Sky Moore, man, so he's got the air yards, right? Because like a couple of deep bombs in that game, in the last game on, but he was like nowhere even close to like coming down with any of those balls. So this, I'm a little scared of him too. I get the play. I don't know. Hopefully by the end of the show, we'll land on the right mix.
Bobby, what about MVS too? He's 4-1, and again, you're just kind of shooting for a 60-yard touchdown, which he can do. He's capable of, but like he's not going to get a ton of targets necessarily. The safest pairing with Mahomes is probably it's Kelsey, but salary cap. I see your boy Herbert Good says I'm on Kelsey. Mahomes is my boy. Like okay, great. Now make the rest of the lineup. Like we live in a world of a salary cap, and good luck making a great lineup around it. You can, but it's just sort of tricky. Bobby, give me the rankings as far as your Kansas City receivers, and you want to include Kelce by all means. How you're ranking them when you factor in cost, ownership, all that good stuff.
We lost Bobby.
I think we lost Bobby. All right.
This is a good time to say, guys, hit that like button. But more importantly, let's get those season-long questions rolling in. Come on. we're here. We're only here for a little bit more time. Get them ready. Let's start getting these going.
Did you have a season-long team by chance?
I don't.
I have one. I'm in the RotoGrinders season-long league, and it's a pretty big league. It's a big. Zeke is my second running back, and if he doesn't go, I think it's like Sonny Michel or something like that. It's a deep league, so.
I got kicked out for inactivity. I've been in like friends leagues and like.
As you should.
I know, but I told the thing is I was like, I'm gonna beat all you guys and never use the waiver wire once, like throughout the entire season. And I got to the finals and I lost in the finals that year. Then the next year I like doubled down and like would take zeros in lineup. I mean, it's too hard when you got so much money going on in DFS. Like think about it. Yeah.
The worst is like when I was playing with my friends, and they would say, "You're so lucky that you got this nonsense touchdown. You beat me by 0.3 points." And it's like, now I'm 10-3 in my season-long league that's got $1,000 in the total prize pool. That touchdown cost me $5,000. But yes, I am so lucky. I really edged you out, man. I'm so excited that I'm now 10-3 in a stupid season-long league.
And then you got to be included on some group chat with all your friends, and they don't ding 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 ding. You gotta mute that, and it's
season long. You're actually paying to be in the group chat. I feel like that's as you get older, right? Nice to be back.
Bobby, what do you think of Chicago? So Fields obviously was awesome last week. He smashed. The price has adjusted. You kind of a built-in like free touchdown. You consider his legs. So I think his the total for rushing yards is about 60 or so this season. What are you doing with Fields now? He doesn't really have an awesome ready-made pairing. Of course, Cole Kmet's worked the last 2 weeks. That took down the Million Maker the last 2 weeks. At least last week it did. You can put the same Brown brothers are playing against Chiller and Street. And then I think it's kind of sort of somewhat interesting just to flip it and say, well, I'm going to play Montgomery or Herbert. As kind of be a little bit different, and going against the Fields ownership. How do you handle the Bears this overall? Do you think Detroit can hang enough to punch back because their offense is pretty immune outdoors?
Yeah, so Fields is a fantastic play. I, for one, though, will not be playing him because I did not play him last week. So if I'm late to the party, I'm kind of staying off at this point. But yeah, I like Montgomery a little bit. I like attacking him from a leverage standpoint that way. But if you're playing Fields, like obviously Mooney, like you're starting with pretty much a pretty good score with Fields, right? Like probably 6. Who was it? One of the in terms of QB Ellinger or whatever his name had like 8. So you're giving him 13. You just hope he doesn't get 35 if you're fading, which is in the realm of possibilities. But I worry about like Goff kind of pushing the pace as much as Tua did last week, especially in Chicago. So not so much on Fields, and also Fields' receivers don't grade out the greatest in terms of projection. Mooney's fine, but then I don't know. I don't really trust Claypool, and I don't really love Kmet as much this week. So I don't know. I know he's a really good play, but for me, I'm staying away.
Kirkwood Bears, what do you do with them?
What if I told you there is a running back?
I'm with Kirky here.
Who's been talked down in the industry, who's still, even though people thinking it's a kind of a split backfield, got 70% of the snaps in each of the last 2 weeks and is up against the 26th DVOA ranked defense that can't stop anybody. And he's only 6,000, Dean. Would you be interested in something like that?
Yeah, I believe this is the guy you went all in on. I don't not to bring it up. I tailed. I had a ton of Montgomery. This is like 4 or 5 weeks ago or so.
We're back. This is how we get it all back.
We're martingaling Montgomery. Yeah, I had this conversation with Dago and Rebar, and the Herbert, and everybody will say this is kind of like the Zeke Pollard thing to a lesser extent, but everybody's like
Montgomery's better than Zeke though, right?
Yes.
Well, but it's a similar situation in that like Montgomery gets more, but everybody says Herbert's better. Like I'm not saying that, but you know what I mean. Similar as far as distribution of touches. But people think Herbert's better. Like if you're
Montgomery went down and got hurt in the number with the nut matchup, and Khalil Herbert went off in that nut matchup. I think it was Green Bay, was it? Who dead last in DVOA versus the run. And so he not only have people always been down on David Montgomery, just like they were with many good running backs. For every Twitter, NFL, season long people, DFS people, best ball people, they love to go on David Montgomery. But Montgomery is good. He's been in a bad situation for the longest time. He's had a rough year this season, a very disappointing year this season, but he's also been working behind a bad line. And so that skews it too. The fact, like if you put Montgomery in that game that Herbert went off, if he just stayed on the field, it would be a completely different narrative. And so, I mean, he's like the Bears. The Bears are giving Herbert's not getting all the snaps, right? Like he had that 77% game when Montgomery was out.
Yeah.
And he's back down to 28. So this is Montgomery's backfield. Now the only problem is that Fields is running like a maniac and something he wasn't doing. So that's obviously a concern.
Too,
yeah, that's obviously a big concern. And there's red zone equity and all of that stuff. So Montgomery isn't like the best. It's a risky play for sure. Now it's a much riskier play, but it's a great leverage spot, right? Like Fields is definitely. I mean, Fields. Everybody was calling Fields the worst quarterback in NFL like 4 weeks ago, right?
People are fickle, you know that.
Going into that 4 weeks, and then he's smashed, and like all of a sudden he's back, and he's coming off of a 45-point fantasy point game. It's a cupcake matchup for all of them. I mean, this could very easily be the David Montgomery game and be like the best leverage spot on the slate. Might not work.
Your big lineup, right? Your main lineup, Montgomery.
Yeah, he's on the squad right now.
I asked Bobby, I want your take as far as the KC receivers because there is cheap stuff there. More 3K. I'm in chat. Somebody's asking about Tony. Mark is asking about Tony in chat. He's 5K. MVS is 4-1. Your priorities on Kansas City as far as the receivers, and I guess throw Kelsey into the conversation. I mean, we all know he's good. How much are you prioritizing him? How much does he hurt the rest of your lineup? As far as
I'm gonna have a lot of Kelsey just because all these optimals are spitting up double tight end and going cheap, and I think that getting the Kelsey just makes a ton of sense in the slate. Outside of those other wide receivers, I like Tony. Like living the uncertainty with Tony, like I figure he's a good player. His snaps are going to come up. He's tied to a good QB. Then Juju, I think Juju at 6K, I can play him. Just he's come along in this offense over the last couple of weeks, so don't mind getting to him. All these guys are tied to Mahomes, right? MVS, they haven't been going as deep as much, but like if they do, MVS likely will be that guy. So I don't mind that. I would split up MVS, Tony, and Sky Moore. Sky Moore would be the last, but I'm playing Mahomes a good bit, so I'm going to have exposure to all these guys.
If you're playing Kelsey, are you forcing Mahomes? Or not necessarily?
I don't think you have to, right?
I don't think you have to. I was just curious you put a rule in.
I don't think you have to.
I mean, especially if you want to play Lawrence on the other side of the game, you can do that.
Yeah, I'm playing Lawrence, so I'll have Kelsey's like my main run back in those lineups.
Kirkwood, your thoughts there as far as Kansas City? I don't know what to do with him. I mean, he's obviously the top QB on the slate. So what are you thinking about Josh Allen?
I think people are afraid to play him.
Yeah, I mean, shouldn't we play him then and just hope that this Buffalo Minnesota game goes off?
Like he's got to be good, fine, right? Like there's no other reason. That Buffalo, I believe, is well ahead as far as record wise. I don't, or like they're well positioned. They can afford to sit him for a game or two. I assume he's basically fine. They're not that stupid where they would force him. I mean, Keenum is a competent backup, right? So I think we're supposed to play more than the projected ownership on Allen. Now the tricky part is much easier to do on FanDuel on DK. Salary is a thing. Salary is really tough on DK to make it work, especially if you want to pair him with Diggs, especially if you want to run it back with Jefferson. But I think you're supposed to be higher than the field, which what is it, 5% is our projected ownership right now in Josh Allen on a 10-game slate? Like, Bobby, Josh Allen?
I'm with Kirkwood. I think he should be overweight. I have to build it in. I right now, like, if people aren't playing him, he's 5%, and he's the best quarterback in the league. It's just I'd like to see, like, hear what we get from beats and warm-ups, how he's throwing and stuff.
7.6% to be technical, because I hit refresh and I thought it was a 5, but still, even if it's 7%, or even if it's like 9 or 10, like, it's still we're talking 20 quarterbacks, 5% is the average, right?
And Diggs too. Like, this is a nice matchup for Diggs. It's a revenge game for Diggs if you're into that. So I think it's differentiated, and then the other side, the run backs, I think are very interesting with Jefferson. I think running back's kind of a loaded position on the slate, but you can make a case for Cook. But I would prefer Jefferson.
I don't think he left under great terms, if I remember correctly, for Steph as well.
Yeah, I don't think he did either.
If that does anything for you.
They wasted him.
Yeah, they wasted him.
Imagine Minnesota with Diggs and Jefferson. Like, I don't know the specifics as to why. Was he traded away? Was it a trade? I don't remember.
He was complaining because he wasn't getting.
Yeah, he wanted out.
Duke Johnson elevated from the practice squad. I didn't see that. I don't know how much. I want to talk about that in chat.
What team is he even on?
He's like the third or fourth running back in the Bills. By the way, we have. If you speaking of narratives, I mentioned before that the St. Browns are playing against each other in Chicago. We got the Cook brothers playing against each other as well, James and Dalvin. So there you go, brothers week for sure. You can run back with Dalvin as well on the other side. Kirkwood, give me your quarterback pool. Who have you settled on?
This is not big. It is Mahomes, Fields, Tua, and Trevor Lawrence, and I just don't like anybody else.
Yeah, I mean that's the week, right? I'm having a hard time just making lineups.
I will now have to consider Josh Allen, and I'm assuming this is going to be very hard to build with him as well because of the price here. Now it's even harder. It's harder than Mahomes. My interesting one is Dak.
Okay,
I think he totally lost. Just somebody that can pop off for a big game that's going to be extremely low owned. Green Bay's been horrendous, but hopefully they can straighten something out. I mean, there's risk for sure. Coming off of a very good game against Chicago, which isn't the greatest thing, but because Chicago's a good matchup. But I can just see this game breaking and Dak going off. Now I could see it busting too, but I think it's worth at his ownership. I think it's worth definitely playing him. Maybe Kirk Cousins. I don't know. I like I said, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 are the guys that I'm really focusing on. I
can't get in the Dak because I just have a hard time. If Rodgers can't do it against Detroit, like in the dome, he's just done. It's over. There's your mush. Like Aaron Rodgers, it's over. I'm not sure how much they can punch back. He also goes so slow. Like the clock he makes sure it's at 1 every single time he snaps the ball. He wants to read the defense forever. I just don't know how much push Dak gets, but we'll see. Bobby, your thoughts as far as Dak? Can we get a ceiling game out of him? Because that's the other thing is, when was the last ceiling game we got out of Dak? How many years ago we talked about?
Yeah, I don't love Dak. Never really play him. I would say right now I'm at Mahomes, Tua, Lawrence, and Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett's receivers grade out pretty well. And I like the run back of Olave, where I think everyone's going to kind of go to Kamara.
What about Mr. Unlimited?
No, never again. Never. Never. I get why, but never.
I don't really get why. Like, why?
There's like 15 guys out for the Titans defense.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, that's reasonable.
That might be the freaking play, man. With Judy.
Why don't you just play Allen and Diggs and take the? Because
I got to build around it. That's the problem.
You could play Sutton and Judy are both. Sutton's 5'5". He's been like, if you're looking at the game log, it's been bad.
Give me Judy, who can go for an 80-yard touchdown against a team that's missing like their entire secondary.
But like Bobby said, why not just play Judy and don't worry about Russ? And like you can figure out the quarterback with another little stack or mini stack.
because we're trying to get different at quarterback.
Judy's different.
Allen's different at quarterback and play Judy at 5'5".
Yeah.
You don't have to be different at every position.
Look,
Yeah, you want to play some shot. Yeah, obviously.
I don't. I mean, like he had one good game against the Raiders. I think this is like, if there's ever a time for him to go off in with this matchup, with their defense all in shambles right there and like nobody playing them, like this is worth taking a shot on, I think, today. And when we're struggling to find even 4 quarterbacks on this slate. We're poking holes in all of them. So Mahomes, good play, great. Possible blowout concerns, right? Possible take the foot off the pedal. Justin Fields, maybe over-owned for sure. Great matchup, yes, but this is still Justin Fields. Tua, yes, I like Tua, but Cleveland it's a much better running matchup for them. Trevor Lawrence, shaky, right? Like that's where I draw the line. Then there's then what? Like, and are any of these guys? Do you feel good about like ceiling spots with any
Not
of them?
really. No.
Yeah. So like, what if Russ has a decent game here at 5,900 at no ownership?
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, he sucks, right? Like I hate him. I hate him too, but I'm just trying to like get a little different here.
I got my eye on chat, by the way. I see chat throwing out some questions. This is fun. I'm enjoying this. Just throw out whatever's in your mind, whatever situation you want us to talk about. I'll do our best to knock everything out, kind of cover. Because this is just a better way just to give our favorite players position by position. But I think for this slate specifically, we got Pranav asking about McAfee and Debo. I don't know when San Francisco plays, but it's not in the main slate, right? I don't know when does San Francisco play. They play the Chargers.
Yeah, make sure you guys activate and put Debo in your season-long lineups.
There you go. There's that little season-long talk. So I made my FanDuel lineups before the show. I didn't make my DK lineups yet, but we talked about Pollard. I got a ton of Pollard. My second most popular player rostered, it's a running back, Kirkwood. Who is it? He's playing in the late slate.
Jonathan, wait, sorry. Repeat the question quickly.
Yeah, no, you got it. Yeah.
Okay, Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, I mean, he's 7K, and his new coach. Say what you want about the situation, but his new coach is an offensive lineman. His quarterback is inept. I assume that they're going to give Taylor everything. They traded away Hines. I think Taylor is just an awesome play. I don't know how popular he's going to be because I think some people want to see it first. Where are you at as far as Taylor? Because I have a ton on FanDuel, and that's also kind of a strategy. Like if Pollard opens up, like fully opens up, if Elliott's ruled out, maybe now I have people are going to move from Taylor to Pollard. I got both, that kind of thing. We'll see. That's part of my strategy. I know Jacobs is still lurking there in the late slate as well, but I want your take as far as Taylor. Are you in wait and see mode, or you think that they're just going to feed Taylor as much as possible because what else are they going to do?
If you're asking me, I'm never in wait and see mode. I'm like, let's go. And if I swing and miss, I swing and miss. So first of all, what I get, like, it's a bad offensive line. That's a problem. The workload is going to be there. We're supposed to always trust the workload, right? There's really no one. He might get the passing work too.
Hines gone.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but he might very well get it all, which would be nice. He's still a good running back. And everyone's saying, like, if they can stay in this game. But, like, what have the Raiders done?
They get 17-point leads and they blow them.
Yeah, and then they scored 0 points the week before that, right?
They have not been good. I don't know precisely.
I think it was against the Saints.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
They got shut out 24-0. Jonathan Taylor, it's good play. I'm thinking about playing him on Yahoo. He's $24 over there. He's the obvious.
Where's Pierce on Yahoo? Is he around there?
He's 23 too. He's going to be massive chalk. Like, I just don't like that. I'd prefer. I'm thinking about just playing Giants D and fading Pierce on Yahoo today. I'll be the only one that does that. Like at least like in all the 10-man, all the stuff. Like, that'll be my stand that I take. But
we have Taylor about 18% on FanDuel and about 9% on DK when you consider the prices. I want your take here, Bobby, as far as Taylor. And the little that I've heard around the industry stuff, everybody's saying the same thing. Like, Pierce is bad chalk. Don't play him in tournaments, and he's popping up in every single optimal. How are people going to react to that, Bobby? And I know you talk to people. And everybody here saying, well, yeah, you just can't play him. It's Dameon Pierce. This guy's it's bad chalk. Like, it's clear and obvious bad chalk. Of course, he can go out there and drop a 40 burger and you're dead. I'm going to have less than the field on him. I understand why he's hitting optimals, but I also don't think it's like the greatest play in the world. But they're all bad plays.
Wait, why is he bad? Why is he chalk if he's bad chalk?
Because okay, good chalk was Tony Pollard a couple weeks ago when it was Ed's backfield and he was like 5K or whatever he was. He's bad chalk because the difference between Dameon Pierce and running back 5 or running back 6 is nominal. It's like nothing. But like the optimizer has to give you something. It's not going to give you. It's not going to sit there and add like the qualifier. Like, here's Pierce. He's like 2% better than the 5th best running back. Like, it's not going to give you those specifics, but that's just the facts. It's not.
I'm currently under on Pierce but I get what Kirkwood's saying. Like, why is he? You said it basically. He's like the 9th running back if it was a different slate. But I still think like there's like playing him. I wouldn't like full fade him. I don't think
it's just usage. It's usage.
Yeah. He's getting a ton of usage. It's tough to
and he's getting garbage time. It's like
it's a running back that's seeing all the work in an offense. You don't see that really as much these days in the NFL. So
a bad offense, but yeah, I get it. I don't know. I don't think he's like an amazing play. He's not worthy of being the number 1 rated running back. Is this kind of my point? If
we had the Pollard news now, we wouldn't even be really like he would blow away Pierce. I feel like
correct. Yeah. Matt's telling me in chat that I'm a donk and it's bad chalks. All right, fair enough. If Pierce crushes today, I'm going to have some. Like you said, I'm not saying full fade. I hope that's not how it's coming out. But if you look at the ownership stuff, I don't know if he's worthy of 27% ownership. I'm not sure. I think that's a little bit too high.
Has there been a chalk running back who's bombed yet this season?
David Montgomery.
Like, I don't think there's been a chalk
running back. Montgomery.
Lost all my money that week. Yeah, but like, theoretically,
like Ramondre was close.
Who?
He was fine. Ramondre Stevenson.
Oh yeah, he got there. He sucked out. He had a couple of touchdowns. He smashed a couple times. Jacobs, this feels like a good bounce back spot for Jacobs. I really like the idea of playing one of Jacobs or Adams in every lineup. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't get there. But I think one of those guys really has a big day. I know it's attaching myself to the Raiders offense again, but I feel really good that like one of those gets going. And then, of course, there's Foster Moreau, chalk at tight end, which is fine, I guess. But like, what are the chances that Foster Moreau breaks the slate? Bobby, your thoughts as far as the Raiders? Do you like Jacobs and Adams theoretically if you can get to them?
Yeah, I think Jacobs is a really good play. If you don't get the Pollard news, you can swap to Jacobs, swap to Taylor. I know you like Taylor, but I think Jacobs is a strong play. Right now, I don't have as much Adams. There is like a narrative with Saturday not. I don't know what's the situation. He has Adams on his fantasy team or something like. I don't know.
I didn't hear that. That's pretty funny.
So maybe tries to get him some more. Doesn't double him as much, but no, I think I actually really like the Taylor call in that game because you're basically saying like Saturday they have issues in the offensive line. Saturday's going to come in. What does he know? He knows the O-line. So it's like setting stuff up for the running game in that situation. Maybe you don't want to play Jacobs and Taylor together, but if you think, well, you're taking on a lot, that's expensive to do. I probably wouldn't play them together, but I think you could play like Matt Collins and Taylor together if you're I think that's a way to kind of differentiate Matt Collins. But yeah, I don't know. Jacobs is fine. He's going to be my swap off if I don't get the Zeke news. I'm playing him regardless. I think he's a good play.
Have you guys seen the Matt Collins chalk splits?
No. Oh yeah, the one game. The one game
he scores 33 fantasy points as chalk.
In chat, Herbert Good, your boy Herbert's asking about Granson. I do not have a Granson take, but I will tell you who's got a Granson take is Erik Beimfohr will be on in about 15 minutes or so. Him and Rob are going to relieve us. He's got him checked in the lineup HQ. He's tagged as an expert play. So. Do you guys have a take as far as Keelan Granson? He's 2.6 on DK. I got nothing. I could not pick him out of a lineup. But I'm willing to listen. What have I missed here, Kirkwood, as far as Granson?
He is an athletic, cheap tight end.
Yeah.
With a bad quarterback.
Horrendous quarterback.
In a game that we're projecting to be a lot of running plays. And in a matchup for tight ends that the Vegas is a very good match. They're the 1, 2, 3. They're the 5th best matchup for fantasy points per game allowed to tight ends. So it's a good matchup. He's cheap and he's athletic.
I saw somebody in chat ask about Pittman. I don't want to attach myself to that quarterback.
Let's check out his. Hold on. I keep going.
I can't imagine. I mean, I suppose it wasn't that long ago that Rebar put out a stat. Like, I think it was when Matt Ryan was a quarterback. The longest target he had was like 17 yards. And it probably hasn't extended beyond that this season. It's so sad what's happening to Pittman, just rotting away at Indy. A couple other questions I saw in chat that I wanted to knock out. Let's see. Jetty Girl wants to know about Swift. We talked about the Bears. Bobby, I don't know if do a Swift. What do you have, 10 snaps last week? I don't understand why you even play the guy if he can only handle 10 snaps. But
I prefer Williams, but I do think, like, if you're trying to anticipate, Swift has the ceiling, right? He can break a long one. He doesn't get the goal line. Fine GPP play, but I don't know. I think I prefer Williams just because we saw prior to the injury, Williams was getting the majority of the work, even with Swift healthy. So,
yeah.
So there was a quote from Dan Campbell saying he's hopeful that Swift could handle a little bit more this
What's
week.
A little more than 10?
Yeah, I don't know. It's not
15?
much, right? Just a little, right?
Hopeful? Like, why is he playing if he's hopeful? You know what I
The
mean?
whole thing
Like,
makes no sense.
He's off the injury report, so that's a good sign. And Jamal Williams gets the goal line stuff. I mean, I get it. Forward thinking, right? Like he's ridiculously talented.
Sure.
And it's a great matchup and definitely could work. So for GPP, I mean, he's like the quintessential. Oh yeah, for GPP, sure. You know, like. But
it's a cop out. You could say, yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah, sure. For GPP, yeah, sure.
I called it. Do we mention Barkley? Like, Barkley's a really strong play, and Henry's a really strong play. It's a salary concerns. Do you have a preference, Kirkwood? If you have the money for both, like you can spend it for one of them, who do you prefer, Barkley or Henry?
Well, this is another ridiculously good matchup. It's like the nut matchup against Houston home. He does well, and he does much better in games that they win. So this is a really strong spot for Saquon. I mean, he gets ridiculous amount of usage, right? Like, so basically he gets 80% of the snaps. Like, so that's what we're looking. He's ridiculously athletic and talented. He's playing Houston, who's 32nd in DVOA versus the run. They allow the most running back fantasy points per game. They allow the most rushing yards per game. He has the highest he's averaging. So basically, if we look at his averages, he's averaging 24 touches, 121 yards per game. Like, there's nothing bad to say about Saquon. It's just the price makes it hard to play him. But this is like the absolute nut spot. I like the Giants D in this spot. Like, so I think he's a great play. If I can get to him, I will. I'm trying to get to him on Yahoo. He's pretty pricey over there.
Mr. Richard wants to know the ownership on Nick Chubb. It's about 6% on DK. If you want to win yourself access to a potential month free of RotoGrinders Premium, all you got to do is give me a bold call and be precise, be good, and nail it. How do you do that? You respond. I'm going to go ahead and drop this in chat. Respond to this tweet with the bold call that is most accurate. You get yourself 1 month free of RG Premium. You can get yourself access to all, not just NFL, but all the sports, everything you think of the absence of NASCAR, MMA as well, PGA, baseball when it's in season. Well, that's not a month away, but you know what I'm talking about. Basketball. Last week, somebody hit the Fields Komet combination. I mean, they won themselves a month free. Basically, talk about that hitting in the Millionaire Maker winner. We have Hunt versus Chubb, single entry. Who do you prefer here, Bobby? Mark wants to know. You got Hunt or Chubb? Obviously salary difference, but who would you build around?
Currently playing both in the majority of my Tua stacks. Not together, obviously, but separating them because I think Tua's best path to like winning a GPP is Chubb coming out and running the ball down that Miami defense throat. And then if he's trailing, I think Hunt makes a good bit of sense at 5.3 when we're star for value. So They're two guys that I'm pretty interested in.
You mentioned Tua. I just think Jeff Wilson. We talk about Montgomery being interesting leverage. They're in the Chicago situation. I'm going to have a little bit of Wilson on DK too, because I don't know. Like he's in that. He knows that system really well. He just jumped in and basically took half the snaps from Mostert. I think Wilson at 5.5 is pretty reasonable, and just the salary cap is so tight. It's hard for me to make stuff work. Does anybody like Wilson with me, or you want to play Mostert? I prefer Wilson over Mostert, but you consider salary. Anybody have a thought on that?
I like Wilson. I don't have too much of him, but in my Tua stacks, I definitely prefer him to Mostert. He stepped in right away last week, right?
Yeah,
5.5. I don't mind getting to some Wilson.
Henry or Barkley in cash? Question in chat. Man, Kirkwood. I think that's Barkley, but it's such a coin toss. It's so close.
Yeah, Barkley. I don't know. They're both ridiculous. I think someone just wrote, I can't in chat. I can't. Barry Sanders is actually in the chat.
That's Brady Sanders. I thought
Brady. Sorry. Oh.
It's his cousin.
It's the nephew. Can't choose between Barkley or Henry, so he's just jamming them both, calling it a day.
How? Well, maybe on FanDuel you can do it, not DK.
I would love that. I mean, that would make me feel warm and fuzzy if I could make that lineup. But I'll choose Saquon.
Did Lenny to Brady? Did Fournette just throw past the Brady? Or so? There's a game going on in Germany, by the way, if you guys weren't aware. Bucks are up 14-3. If anybody has any wagers involved in that, do want to mention before we step aside. We'll be gone in about 5 minutes or so. Erik, stay on the stream though. The stream takes you straight up to 1 o'clock. I saw Andre in chat. He'll be on later as well, answering your questions. He was talking about he's going to play some Russ as well. So maybe Kirkwood's onto something. You guys are on Mr. Unlimited this week. Do want to mention though, if you're not playing, it's too difficult. You don't want to deal with Russ. You don't want to deal with the salary cap on DK. You can play on Stat Hero. In case you haven't heard, Stat Hero, it's a unique fantasy sports platform that allows users to compete only against the house, not against other players. You're not playing against Bobby or Kirkwood or anybody in chat. You participate in a head-to-head style contest for Stat Hero. They're going to provide a lineup that you have to beat with your own, as well as pick'em style contests. You should also check out the Big Dime League. That's a season-long leaderboard NFL contest with up to $50,000 in prizes. Enter that one all season long. We got a nice, sweet promo code for you, of course. Otherwise, why will we be bothering even telling you about this? Promo code, it's Grinders, GRINDERS. 50% deposit bonus, up to $250. Jump into action today over at Stat Hero. Bobby, we did save time for your defense. I know you love your defensive segment. Give me your favorite defense or two.
Yeah, so Arizona's my favorite defense, but how I'm getting to them is playing the Cowboys and Pollard. And when I get that news, I'm going to swap down from the Cowboys to Arizona if we get that news, for what it's worth. If we get that Pollard news, I'm going to if we get that Pollard starting and Zeke's out, I'm going to swap down to Arizona in a lot of my stuff.
Two cheap tight ends. That's how you fit Barkley and Henry. Yeah, like that's kind of the point. Like, if two cheap tight ends get you like 10 and 10, which is obviously not ideal. But if Barkley and Henry both give you ceiling games like 40 and 40, like who cares if the two tight ends give you 10? That's what gave you access to it. And then you're overspending for, like, if you're not going two tight ends, it's like, okay, you're paying 4 or 5 for Zay Jones, who gives you like 12 points. So you want 12 points from Zay Jones, or you want 10 from your crap tight end that's 1,500 less. Like that, I understand the thought process, but I still can't get behind. It's hard for me to say, oh, two tight ends. So there's a lot of upside in this lineup, because there kind of sort of is. Just your big boys have to just go off and have those big time games. Are you putting in rules, Bobby? Like, you're just not going to do it. It sounds like, as far as two tight ends, not happening.
Two tight ends I will play if one of those tight ends is Kelsey.
That's right. Okay, fair enough.
I just made my lineup
on DK or Yahoo or FanDuel or what?
DK.
What do you want to say about it? You don't want to just run it off, obviously, but
yeah, no one's gonna play this lineup. It's Russ.
Who's the player you feel least comfortable about in that lineup?
Burks.
I was gonna ask, is Trayvon? Yeah, Treylon Burks, the 3K.
Russ, Big Dog, Jacobs, Burks, Judy, Dolchich. So I got the double stack Russ to Judy to Dolchich. Run it back with Henry and Burks. then with Josh Jacobs and Pollard and a chalk D.
It's going to be like 7-3 in the middle of the third quarter in that game. You're going to be so tilted.
We're going for it today, everybody.
What are your other thoughts as far as tight end? You talk about Dulcich. He's pretty interesting. 3.4K. Foster Moreau, kind of a last man standing for the Raiders. I don't want to say last man standing, but they lost a lot of pieces, obviously. Devontae Adams, besides that, we're looking at like Mac Hollins and, I don't know, Keelan Cole. He's 3K, like if you want to look at 3K players. Your thoughts as far as tight end, Kirkwood, anything that's worth stressing? Obviously you don't love anybody necessarily. Schultz is out there. He'll be playing football today. Usable. I don't mind Pat Freiermuth. I think he's interesting for Pittsburgh. Yeah,
I like him. It's tough to get to him. What's funny? I like Freiermuth.
Well, I know you didn't like. I thought you're going to add you're going to add some color to like. I thought you're going to add something else too. You got nothing else as far as tight ends.
I'm arguing with Matt Smith over my DraftKings lineup.
What do you argue? What is he saying? He was critical of me too. He told me I was adult, which is fine. Maybe that's true.
That's your main DK lineup? Come on, man.
I mean, I was kind of thinking, I can't believe you're playing Russ in your main lineup.
It's got Amon-Ra St. Brown in there too. I left that one out.
Yeah. I mean, you
got Russ double. It's going to hit this. This is the week.
I can't imagine doubling Russ.
Where's my boy Drizzy Dre to back it up here?
He'll be on in about an hour or so, and he said he likes Russ too. But what did you think? If you're going to put a score on that, Bobby, what did you think of his lineup? If you're going to 1 through 10 or a letter grade?
Kirky builds good teams, so I didn't really hear it, but I can assure you that it's probably pretty good.
There was 5 players in the Tennessee-Denver game, just to refresh your memory.
It'll be one of the better Tennessee-Denver.
Yeah, but here's the key to that. Here's the key. Here's the key to that. 4 out of those 5 are all priced very low.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I get it. It actually does make sense if that game does something.
What's the pace there? It's like 0, right?
Let's see.
Well, first of all, we're dealing with first of all, we're dealing with Tennessee's defense that is just decimated right now. So this game could play out differently. Could this bust be like 6-3 or like 10-3 at halftime? Yes, absolutely. Yeah. But I don't like anything. I don't like any of this other stuff today. So I'm going for it. See you guys at the top of the bottom.
Ricky Bobby style for sure. If you guys are hanging out in chat, kindly hit that like button. We'd appreciate that. Keeps the old proverbial lights on. Turn on those notifications so you know when we go live. Obviously, we're doing basketball shows all throughout the week. We're doing showdown shows later on tonight, Thursday, Monday. So you turn those notifications on and also subscribe to the channel. Hey, Bobby, give me your favorite stack. See that Tennessee Denver game stack and raise it. What's your favorite stack today?
Favorite stack?
You can go skating, whatever you want.
Wait, what'd you say? What was the second part there?
However you want to answer. It doesn't have to be a game stack, and it could just be Tua to Hill. That's it. You don't have to say a game.
I think it's Lawrence for me. Lawrence and his weapons, and then run it back with Kelsey.
Is Kirk your favorite if you have the money for it?
Kirk would be my favorite, yes, if I have the money for it.
Yeah. You got some Zay and you got some Ingram, I assume?
Ingram and Marvin Jones, yeah.
All right. We do appreciate y'all watching this first portion, just kind of setting the table. Erik and Rob, they're going to go even deeper. They're going to give you some deep thoughts. They're going to be, Galaxy branding this. It's a great slate, the Galaxy brand, I think, actually, because, again, the chalk I don't think is spectacular. But, that's our portion of the show. No reason to go anywhere else. We have Rob and Erik, and then, of course, after that, crunch time, it's going to be, I believe it's usual suspects with TheLuuch, Christy, and Andre as well. On behalf of Kirkwood and Bobby, I was Dean. Appreciate y'all watching. Guten Tag. Guten Morgen. I learned a little bit of German.
Grinder here back in the fantasy bar with your pints and picks for week 10 presented by BetMGM. Use promo code GRINDERS. That's going to get you a risk-free bet up to $1,000. Now sit back, grab your favorite pint while I'll give you my favorite picks for week 10. All right, going back to week 9, couple of pushes for us with Washington +3, Tampa Bay -3. Record remains sterling. Let's stay on a roll. All right, week 10, let's start with a home favorite. We're rolling Chicago Bears -3 against the Detroit Lions. The Lions, I guess, they got a nice win against Green Bay. I'm a Packer fan. Green Bay is just as bad as Detroit, so I'm not putting a ton of stock in that one. In fact, some of the trends here, Lions have only covered once in their last 5, and that was that game against Green Bay. They have really struggled on the road, just 1-5 against the number, and they have not been great in Chicago, only covering once in their last 6 trips to Chicago. Justin Fields on an absolute tear right now. This Bears team playing with a lot of confidence. I think they roll the Lions here at home. Going Chicago -3. All right, next one for us. We are going with an underdog. We're rolling with the Cleveland Browns +3.5. Now we know Miami, a very public darling here. Everybody loves the Dolphins right now. But this one opened up at 4.5, and it's been bet down to 3.5, and that was with 60% of the bets coming in on Miami. Why? Because the money is on the Cleveland side. 75% of the money is with the Browns, and that's the side we want to be on here. Cleveland covering 6 of their last 8 on the road against a team with a winning record. Miami, meanwhile, has really struggled against the number. They've been good in real life, just covering once in their last 6 games. Grabbing the Browns here with the hook. Give me Cleveland +3.5. All right, that'll do it here for our pints and picks for week 10. Remember, promo code GRINDERS over at BetMGM. Take advantage of that risk-free bet up to $1,000. For BetMGM, for scores and odds, for RotoGrinders.com, I am Beer saying salut, guys. Best of luck with your bets this week. Thank you for watching. Catch you next week.
What is going on, guys? Week 10 GPP Final Takes here on RotoGrinders.com, brought to you by FanDuel. I am your host, Erik Beimfohr. You can find me on Twitter at Erik Beimfohr, and I am joined this week by my good friend, sometimes good friend, depending on how much he mocks me in the Twitter streets that day, Rob Coakley at KingCoakley on Twitter. And Rob, we had a pretty fun show the last time. Repeat guest here with Rob, and the last time Rob came on, we brought some heat. No show is ever perfect, but it sets up kind of similarly. I assume that you're on a lot of the same ideas. The most hands-on. That's definitely not true. Appreciate you, Jesse, but definitely, yeah, exactly. Except for Rob, but we brought some heat on some Chiefs. We brought some heat on some other ways to build teams in a slate that I thought was kind of difficult, similar to this one, and I'm excited to get into it today. How are you feeling about week 10?
I'm just thinking that RotoGrinders is kind of trolling me. They're like, "Hey, do you want to be on the Sunday show?" And I'm like, "Sure." And it's always like the toughest slate of all time to try to figure out. So it's like they're doing it intentionally. So thanks a lot, Devin and Dan Bach, for making it difficult on me. But yeah, I got some Galaxy Brain stuff that I'm thinking of for this slate.
I think it's a fun Galaxy Brain slate because with a pretty much a lack of value, we've gone so many slates this year where it's like, okay, 6K Tony Pollard with no Zeke, and we'll talk about him later too. Whatever. I'm blanking on some other, names, but these guys, Travis Etienne, even like last week, Joe Mixon, even last week, we're talking about pretty smash plays that are just way too underpriced. And there are some underpriced plays today, but it's not the same. We're not talking about Travis Etienne, in a cupcake spot without, first game without James Robinson, or we're not talking about Tony Pollard without Zeke at 5K, or, we're not talking about that. And so I think I want to start with like the overall roster construction today, because I think people are going to use, because there's no running back value, even like last week on FanDuel was kind of a unicorn where Deion Jackson didn't do anything, but Deion Jackson was 5,000 on FanDuel. There's just really not that type of value at the running back position. So I think we're going to see so many people spend up, then spend down at tight end, a little bit of Kelsey, but spend down at tight end and use some of these volatile wide receiver values really on both sides. That worries me. If I'm going to eat chalk and I'm eating Donovan Peoples-Jones chalk, like that's kind of, I would like to steer away from that. I'm curious what you think of from like a macro roster construction standpoint today.
Well, the DPJ thing stood out like at the beginning of the week, and then everybody started talking about DPJ, right? Well, let me not say everybody. Last show, I said nobody was talking about a guy, and I got roasted because I didn't watch the 375 DFS shows that week and missed the one that they were, touting whoever I thought. So I started looking at that game because we want exposure to that Miami Browns game, right? We want exposure to Chiefs, Jags. At least I do. If you followed our best ball stuff, Jags Chiefs is like my Super Bowl today for my best ball stuff. So you brought up no running back value. Let me ask you this question. Have you been looking at Kareem Hunt? They should probably be down a little bit. Kareem Hunt is really cheap on a site that it's full point PPR, right? So we can get Kareem Hunt for 5.3 on DK, and it allows you to do some stuff in your lineup that maybe you couldn't do before. So that's one of the things I'm looking at to help my roster construction so that I can play the Tony Pollards, the Saquon Barkleys, along with playing the game stacks that I want to play.
Yeah, it's super fascinating particularly because Kareem Hunt provides direct leverage off of a popular teammate into a game that we're very much excited about, right? Dolphins games are like the new like Coors Field of we thought it was the Lions, but then they just, it's just like Amon-Ra now on the Lions with everybody either getting traded or hurt or whatever. And the Dolphins are just, we're going to score every week. Our defense is meh. And we know who it's going to on the Dolphins side of things. And so these games are just super appealing. Tyreek and Waddle and these guys can rip the lid off at any moment and turn it into a shootout, as we've seen multiple times this year, including against a Bears team that no one was going into like, oh yeah, Bears games are going to shoot out. And even they were able to, tag along in a shootout with the Dolphins. And so you have guy like the DPJ thing makes total sense. I know we have him projected here for 12%, but like you said, I try not to get on Twitter too much in the mornings other than to check inactives on Sundays. And like the first two tweets I saw were about Donovan Peoples-Jones. And I'm just like, he's not some sneaky play. He makes too much sense in roster construction. So while of course I like him and I think, in a game stack or something like that, that makes total sense. But he's also just the type of player that we'll see and we'll get more into in this like low 4K-ish range where people just kind of naturally have to gravitate to. And so then the Kareem Hunts of the world, who are very volatile, right? I guess he hasn't even been super volatile this year, but his ceiling is like, you need a perfect game script or of course like a Nick Chubb injury for Kareem Hunt to be a smash. But he does provide that value. He does have that upside. Multi-touchdown, 100 total yards at 5,300 on DraftKings is a perfect kind of starting point to, okay, if everybody's going to play this going to play DPJ and Damian Pierce, right, and Travis Etienne and those types of guys, well, I can kind of flip that around a little bit, right? Now I can play Kareem Hunt. He can be my bring back in my stack. He can be a one-off play. He could be a play with Tyreek. He fits into just about anything and instantly provides leverage. So I think we want to try to find those kinds of guys instead of talking through like, yeah, look, I love DPJ. DPJ and Tyreek Hill sounds like the perfect like tournament guys to pair in a lineup, but we're not sneaking that by anybody,
right?
And then it leads us to the other chalk plays. So anything else on this game besides Hunt, DPJ, Tyreek? Well, how are you treating this game for tournaments?
Well, I'm not full game stacking it. I'm trying to, with a quarterback, I'm just trying to get one of each side. So like right now, I have a team with Hunt and Tyreek Hill. Perhaps I go Kareem Hunt with Jalen Waddle instead. I'm kind of working around that. Yep. But I want this game stack and I want Jags Chiefs. So I'm looking at Kareem Hunt as leverage. But I'm also looking at, I have one team right now with Trevor Lawrence, Evan Ingram, which isn't like sneaking by anybody, like you said. But the other guy I'm looking through, not to switch games, even though you asked me about the other one, but just to go to this, I'm looking at, I love Christian Kirk. That's like my guy, but it seems like he's going to be really owned today. And if we're looking at that 4-2 range, I know everyone's on Zay Jones, but this is the chance that we could have the Marvin Jones yearly 3 touchdown game today. Right? Because he does it once a year. He goes out and he scores 3 touchdowns for 175 yards. He's going to be super underowned. Like you see right there, he's looking at about under 3% ownership. So why can't I play Marvin Jones when I'm trying to attack this game and still find a way to leverage the game?
I actually love that you led into this game because it's kind of the same conversation as the Kareem Hunt thing. I like talking through like these key decision points, and this slate is not particularly awesome in terms of like high upside games. So we do want to focus in on, like, you don't want to be like, oh, I can't play these popular games just because, right? I can't say I'm writing off Jags Chiefs because whatever, it's too owned, which it isn't. I'm just saying if that were to be the case, even Dolphins, Browns, I don't want to be I don't want to be jamming all in on Houston and the Giants or the Saints and the Steelers. And there are appealing plays individually in a lot of those games, but the game environments that are the best are kind of like these two, maybe one or two more that we'll talk about here. And so I don't want to forego that. Like Patrick Mahomes is going to throw for 303 today. Like it's just like a lock.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to go away from that. Right. But how do we do it similar to the Kareem Hunt thing? How do I do it in a way that's providing me upside? There's clearly, game scripts and game scenarios where this hits, but now I'm also leveraging against the field. Marvin and even Zay. Zay's not going to be super. I think both of them, they provide leverage off of 2 teammates because I do believe people are, Travis Etienne just smashes every week. People are not running away from him.
Right.
Christian Kirk, as you said, is going to be one of the more popular wide receivers on the slate. So we have these 2 guys who, frankly, have just as much upside as what's the difference between Marvin Jones and Donovan Peoples-Jones from an upside perspective. DPJ looks better because his target share is a little higher because they don't throw, but like that doesn't get you more it looks good in the spreadsheet, but that doesn't actually get you more targets. And he looks better because he scored like 12 points in basically every game this year. That one looks good. Shout out to Greg. We'll get to it. Trust me. But the Jacksonville side, I do think is actually a little bit more interesting because those 3 wide receivers are going to play the whole game. The Chiefs are going to score 1 million points. Lawrence is going to have to throw, but ETN is the guy people are going to play. And then the one other wide receiver who I like, Christian Kirk, but like Christian Kirk doesn't scream, he's 6,000 on DraftKings and I need to jam him in as chalk. I kind of prefer this leverage route. And so I think those are kind of 2 awesome, like initial talking points is like, we want these 2 games, but how do I go about attacking these 2 games in a way that like it actually gives me a chance to win a tournament instead of just flipping coins with everybody, with Kirk and DPJ and ETN and whatever.
And I'm sure, me going away from Christian Kirk hurts my soul internally because I spent 4 months talking up Christian Kirk, right? And he's still under 6K. So the value seems there, but we're looking at your screen and it shows that he's got a projected ownership of 18%. And you're like, and if I'm playing single entry, which is what I generally play for the most part, it's just like, do I want that type of ownership on a guy that is Christian Kirk, right? Like I love Christian Kirk, but do I want to combat 20-25% potential ownership on this guy when every option on that team is almost the same? Kirk's a little bit above him, of course, but we can still have.
You're paying for that. You're paying for that difference, right? So that's the point. And he's had down games. Like he happened to pop back up again last week, and he's had a really good season overall. But there was a little stretch there where we're like, what happened? This dude had a 30% target share for like a month. He's just getting 3 targets a week, So he's a little more volatile than I think is expected. Okay, let's talk about the Chiefs side though.
Okay, sorry,
Greg, because we have to talk about MVS because. He's super cheap and attached to Patrick Mahomes, so I don't know how you can not talk about. He's still playing, even though he really wasn't getting targeted and is playing a little less. he still was a 73% of snaps last week or something like that. So he's still, an every snap player, basically. He's still the high upside downfield flyer. We just saw him have 115 yards and should have been a touchdown if Mahomes did. Mahomes is going to drive me to, an early grave, because all I heard all summer was that Tua couldn't hit Tyreek for these deep bombs. And if Mahomes misses MVS one more time on one of these, the game against the 49ers, MVS is 15 yards beyond the defender on a busted coverage. Mahomes underthrows him like a duck.
Classic
and,
Mahomes.
Classic Mahomes. He can throw it 95 yards in the air, and he underthrows the guy who's wide open with no one around him.
Right.
But it just kind of speaks to the point. It's like, this dude can get there on one play.
Yeah.
He's DPJ, but with less ownership, and attached to Patrick Mahomes and not Jacoby Brissett. So
and in that price
sounds
range
good.
that we need to attack, right?
Yes.
We need to be attacking this 4-1 to 4-3 range, which is DPJ, MVS, Marvin Jones, like that little toilet bowl that we have to swim around. We have to figure out which way we want to go with it. And I like MVS. My question to you is, like, how are you attacking Mahomes? Like, clearly we generally want to double stack him, but I've been flirting today with a little bit of single stacking him and just hoping that whoever I single stack him with pops off for 2, right? Like, and so the ways you can get a little different. Of course I want Kelsey. Who doesn't want Kelsey?
Right.
Kelsey's expensive, and it's why double tight end is viable this week, because you just have to train your brain to be like, Kelsey is a wide receiver. He's not a tight end. So if I'm playing Kelsey with, Dulcich or Ingram or Moreau, like Moreau's, those guys are my tight end. Kelsey's my 4th wide receiver. Right. But the other thing I'm looking at is, like, I can just play Mahomes with like MVS and bring it back with Marvin Jones or Zay Jones or something. It's a completely unique style to that game. It allows me to still get my Tyreek with Kareem Hunt, and then I can even still fit in like Saquon Barkley on my team somehow. Right. So I'm getting everything that I want in terms of getting the games that I want, along with like the high profile player like Saquon that I want. So what are you doing with that?
I actually think it's funny you bring that up, because that's what I've been kind of toying with in my main team. For full transparency, this game stack is currently in my main team. I have no idea if it will stay that way, but I've been toying around with how to put it together, because it is super interesting that you can get, depending upon what pieces from this game you use or exactly how you construct it, whether it's single stacking or double stacking Mahomes or Lawrence. Like, you could like full out, game stack onslaught this game with double stack Mahomes with 2 bringbacks. You can in that case, you can use Kelsey, you can use ETN, you can use Kirk, whatever. But there's ways to go about this game and still get your Saquon Barkley against the Texans, and still get your Derrick Henry or Alvin Kamara or JT. We'll talk about JT later. I really like JT today in tournaments. Like, you can get those guys. You can get Tyreek. You want to, like you said, you want to do Tyreek and Hunt with if I told you at reasonable ownership, you could stack the Chiefs, Jags, and the Dolphins Browns in a game that it's going to project well. Your lineup's going to project well. The ownership's going to be nice, and you could do that. And like, it was really plus EV lineup. Would you take that? Absolutely, I would. And so I'm looking at different ways to do those kinds of things too. And I think that's kind of similar to why Hunt makes so much sense. Why this game makes so much sense is because you can kind of make it work however you want. You want to go crazy and go get a premium Mahomes double with Juju and Kelsey and kind of turn the build into a little bit something different. By all means. You want to stick to the same kind of chalky-ish build that there is on DraftKings with those, like you said, that range of wide receiver, right? 4 to 5K or whatever, where everybody's living. You can do that, but they instantly pull Marvin Jones, MVS, who am I forgetting? Zay Jones, and Greg brings up the last guy I want to talk about in this game.
Yep.
It's Kadarius Toney. I with McCole Hardman out, for anyone that missed it, McCole Hardman is not playing today. With McCole Hardman out, someone has to play more snaps at wide receiver. Now, they have 3 candidates to do it: Kadarius Toney, Justin Watson, and Sky Moore. But I think the juicy Millie Maker upside bet is Kadarius Toney. I think you can sprinkle some Sky Moore in as well. But I think Tony is the guy who fits that archetype, right? If they want to keep running these stupid pop passes and, McCole Hardman runs at the goal line, that's probably Tony, and that's what they got him for. So I would mix him in tournaments as well. Anything else you're doing with the Chiefs?
No, I mean, like Tony's in my player pool, all the wide receivers. It's nice to lose McCole Hardman in the sense that it whittles it down a little bit. I'm probably not going to play Watson at all. But just to expand upon your point, I have this game right now on a 1 p.m. only $100 single entry, and I have it double stacked with a Chiefs bring back, and I also have a Tyreek Hill Cleveland game stack, and I also have Barkley with Kamara right now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, how do I not play that team when I'm getting everything that I want and two of the best potential running back plays on the slate as well?
100%. I also think you can go wild with this game.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me so much of the 49ers game. Now, the 49ers offense is definitely better than the Jaguars. I think that, the likelihood that the Jags fail is higher than, say, that 49ers game.
Mm-hmm.
But the likelihood that the Chiefs succeed is probably higher too. So you're set up really well. And you don't even have to play Mahomes if you don't want to. But you can stack the Chiefs passing offense. They threw it almost 70 times last week with the best quarterback on the planet, him or Josh Allen. And you can get that stack at reasonable ownership in a smash spot and afford superstars around it. You can go crazy. You want to triple stack Mahomes with Saquon and Derrick Henry and Kamara, around it. You can do that. You can literally do that on DraftKings this week. And so I think this game is kind of the crux of tournaments for me. Again, I'm not sneaking anything by anybody, but I think there's awesome ways to play this game, all the way down to Kadarius Toney, all the way down to Sky Moore. If you do want to play Justin Watson, if you have a read or you have a belief that Justin Watson's going to step into that third role and play a lot more, I mean, he's pretty decent in football. He's had some good games already in a very limited role for them. If you think it's him, go with it. But no one's going to play him. And what if you're right? The payoff is astronomical. And so this game is that for me. The payoff is like the payoff on Tyreek and even Hunt, right? And even Waddle. Waddle is nice because he's a little cheaper and kind of leverage off Tyreek. But still, at the end of the day, the payoff is I'm not sneaking anything by anybody. The payoff on hitting on the right Chiefs wide receivers and the right Jags wide receivers is like $1 million. You win $1 million. So those are the ones I want to focus in on.
Are we overlooking the running backs? I mean, it's such a mess there. Is Clyde Edwards-Helaire going to come in for 6 snaps and score 2 touchdowns and just absolutely ruin our life? Is that something that we're overlooking?
It's possible, but I'm willing to overlook it.
I think we have to.
I think McKinnon, a sprinkle of McKinnon in tournaments, if something were to happen like last week, no one's expecting the Jaguars to get up here or keep the Chiefs in check, but crazy stuff happens in football games. If the Mahomes sack fumble return for a touchdown and the Jags happen to score early or something like that, it's 14-0. McKinnon's going to get a whole lot more run, and we saw what he can do in the playoffs last year when he gets extended run. So he would be the only guy for me. I think obviously ETN makes sense. I do want to hit some of these questions and comments because there's some good ones. Josh Allen is active, so I do not believe they would have him active if he weren't going to play. I could absolutely be wrong about that, but that's kind of my take, and feel free to hop in if you have any additional comments. Ryan Tannehill is in. I think that makes that game more appealing because Malik Willis is like a little league quarterback, I think, at this point.
Well,
Jacoby,
it makes Burks 3K like almost.
Is he in?
Yeah.
Is he official? Is he officially in?
I'm
So that's super interesting. Can we talk about that game? I'll come back to some of these questions and Chiefs and stuff.
Sure.
We'll probably talk way too much about the Chiefs throughout the course of this show, so we can discuss. I do think this game, Broncos Titans, is what we're talking about next, as we transition into Ryan Tannehill being active and Treylon Burks being back, is pretty fascinating to me for tournaments. So both offenses have stunk. They're bad. I'm not particularly excited about jamming in Russell Wilson stacks or whatever in a vacuum. But the Titans defense gives up they stuff the run and they're going to give up passing yards. It's what they do. They're banged up as all get out. They're missing a bunch of defensive players this week. The Broncos traded Bradley Chubb, and hey, they've lost some defensive players. I think that this game makes a lot more sense for tournaments because it's like the dollar store version of the Dolphins.
Mm-hmm.
The Broncos suck and the Dolphins are good, but there's 3 guys. If they're going to move the ball, it's going through Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, or Greg Dulcich through the air. And on the other side, it's like King Henry, and now Treylon Burks is back. So we got 2 really high upside plays against a Broncos team that's kind of like, going their season's going in the toilet. I actually think this game's really fascinating for tournaments, even if it's just like you don't want to play Russ or whatever. But like Derrick Henry and Jerry Jeudy, Derrick Henry and Dulcich, Burks and Sutton. I think that there's a lot of ways you can actually play this game, and they're all in really good spots.
Yeah, I've been hearing a lot of the double stack Russell Wilson takes today, and I start squinting my eyes. I wish I gave time to producer Steve to find the Will Ferrell. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills gift to throw up on the screen. Like we're doing Russell Wilson. We have Lawrence and one of the highest paced offenses in the league playing against the Chiefs who want to throw the ball 100 times. And you're trying to sell me on Russell Wilson. I like Sutton. I like Jeudy. I like Dulcich as one-offs in tournaments for sure. How can you not? Like one of them could definitely smash. I'm just not double stacking this game. But on the flip side of that game, Taylor's cheap. He's coming off the ankle injury, right? But we're never going to get Jonathan Taylor. Yeah,
JT?
Yeah, Jonathan Taylor, right?
They're playing the Raiders.
Oh, that's right. They're playing the Raiders. Sorry.
Him and Henry are very similar, and I like them both a lot. So we'll transition into JT in that game.
I have that on the brain. No, I like, there it is. Yeah. But I'm not double stacking Russell Wilson. It's one-offs, right? If you want some one-offs in this game, absolutely go for it. But I'm not double stacking anything on this game. I'm not even looking to game stack it if I have to. There's too many other good games.
I think that's the argument against it. But I do think I'm trying to think through like how you could, because these Broncos really are like from a projection standpoint, like some of the best wide receiver plays. And because the Broncos stink, everybody has been completely off them. But like we're playing Donovan Peoples. I can't play Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton, but Donovan Peoples-Jones, Juju, like look, Juju has gotten better. Juju, in my opinion, is not a better football player than Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy. Now he's attached to Patrick Mahomes, but he's more expensive now, riding off of like, frankly, some uninspiring efficiency. Like he gets a lot of targets, a lot of, the Rondale Moore-esque targets, but he's not, blowing the lid off of defenses. And so Christian Kirk looks nice. Is Christian Kirk better than Jerry Jeudy? They're about the same. And so I think I just like the Broncos a little bit more than you do through the air. And again, it's kind of like the old Seahawks. Like when the Seahawks had like Greg Olsen or something at tight end. Now Dulcich is better than Olsen. Well, now, the Seahawks version of Olsen. But it was like, dude, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and Greg Olsen are good plays every single week. And so I think if there were a team that I'm going to be overweight the field, like I think I put this in the expert survey, it's Denver. Now, not necessarily. I don't even know if I'm going to have a Russell Wilson double stack, but I'm going to be overweight the Broncos, basically. And I think that's a big stand that I want to take, which in turn is probably going to make me overweight Derrick Henry, which makes me sick to my stomach. We're getting overweight Russell Wilson offense and Derrick Henry, but I really like it. And now I do want to talk about Treylon Burks really quickly. What are you going to do with him at 3K? Are we just clicking and praying or what?
I mean, I am playing him a little bit. Let's go back to Derrick Henry real quick, though. I know you're saying that it's going to up your exposure to him, but I'm looking at our projections right now for Derrick Henry. It's like 18% projected ownership, somewhere around there. And I'm looking at that, and I'm looking at his price tag, which is 8.3, and Saquon's 8.6. So I understand, like, if you're game stacking, you want to bring it back with Henry, but they're slow offenses. Like, if I'm spending that much for a running back, I'm just clicking Saquon Barkley, who's looking at like a 12% ownership. So again, what am I missing here? Like, legitimately, am I missing something on why I should be playing Henry over Barkley this week?
I think they're pretty similar. And so I will agree with you that when we get an ownership discount on Saquon Barkley against the Texans and the Broncos, I think are a little bit like their defense, particularly their run defense, is going to be worse the rest of the year, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but the field is gravitating to that, right? And what if that's wrong? And we look back, like you said, and just for $300 more, we could have got Saquon Barkley against the Texans, who we know suck. Like, we know that, like, there is no if, ands, or buts about Saquon Barkley is going to have a good game today.
Mm-hmm.
Is he gonna go completely nuts? Because frankly, those two offenses aren't exactly bringing a lot of explosion to the to the table either. So I think that's part of the concern. And then he's just right. The pricing thing always turns these ownerships kind of funky sometimes. It's like $300 ends up making that guy a better kind of point per dollar projection when they project similarly, right? Or you go down even, right? You go down to the ETNs and the Kamaras of the world, they project similarly, and you're getting savings. So those guys are cheap are higher owned than Saquon Barkley. The guy that I like even more than Saquon, which you started to bring up, more than Derrick Henry, is Jonathan Taylor, who's a very similar thing, except actually really low owned. I'll even try to find it because I don't know what it is. But another running back that's 5.8% ownership on $7,500 guy that we drafted at the 101 all summer. And look, I get it. Matt Ryan's gone. The whole team is a mess. The coaching staff is gone. They brought in a freaking guy who couldn't win as a high school coach who, used to be a player, but they're going to run the ball. If there's anything I feel confident in is that they're going to come in and they're going to establish the shit out of the ball with Jeff Saturday as their coach. They also know that they have Sam Ehlinger and meh weapons. He's going to pound JT, who, by the way, Nyheim Hines is not there. We've been waiting for this situation where we can unlock JT in all phases of the game. They have Jordan Wilkins and Zach Moss behind him. He's going to be the man against a Raiders team that is, we've joked on other shows about quiet quitting and stuff. The loudest quit of all time is the Las Vegas Raiders. Their starting middle linebacker played every snap last week and led the team in tackles and said, F it, I'm retiring instead of continuing to play this for this team. Blake Martinez retired this week. He had 11 tackles last week and he retired. This week, I'm out of here. This Josh McDaniels thing is a joke. We're out of here. They put Hunter Renfrow on IR. They put Darren Waller on IR. They cut Jonathan Abram. They're a bigger mess than the Colts. And the Colts are just going to ram it down the Raiders' throats with JT here. I don't know if you have anything else to add, but you can clearly see that I'm very excited about Jonathan Taylor today.
Well, I'll just start with, have you updated your resume? Because if the Colts beat the Raiders today, they might actually fire Josh McDaniels. And after we saw Jeff Saturday get hired as a head coach, we have a chance. We could be the head coaches of the Raiders next week.
I used to coach high school football, by the way. And we won more games than Jeff Saturday did. So my resume stacks up pretty closely to the new NFL head coaches.
I just want a shot on give me just a positional coach thing, and I'm fine with it. All right. I think Taylor's $7K on FanDuel as well, which is even more egregious, to be perfectly honest. So
yes,
I'm probably playing a lot. I'm probably playing him on both sites potentially, but again, I multi-enter on FanDuel more than I do DraftKings, so I'm definitely playing Jonathan Taylor on FanDuel at $7K. How can you not? How can you not? Everything you just said, they lost their run-stopping linebacker to retirement.
He retired. It wasn't even like he got hurt. The team is so dysfunctional. He just said, deuces, I'm out of here. I'm not. He just had 11 tackles in the game and played the whole game. And he's still close enough to his prime. I know Blake Martinez is getting older, but he's still a functional NFL linebacker. He could make millions of dollars more. He doesn't want to play. He not just quit the team, right? Antonio Brown dipped out. He's gone. He literally filed his retirement rather than play for this team. The JT ownership on FanDuel is, I get it on DraftKings. Pricing, PPR, whatever. $7K on FanDuel, and we're gonna play $7,700 Dameon Pierce, double the ownership over Jonathan Taylor. I get it. I totally get the Colts concerns and all that, but you have Houston Texans concerns the Texans aren't any better. Like, you know what I mean? It's one thing to be like, okay, we're going to play Tony Pollard over him, right? They're the same price. If Zeke misses, I get it. But the Dameon Pierce thing is ridiculous to me. He's like the Christian Kirk of running back plays this week. I get it. Looks good. Probably going to have another 100 yards because that's what he does. He's a really good actual real-life NFL running back. But at the end of the day, when you're a running back who also can get game scripted out, and Rex Burkhead can come in and steal high-value touches from you, on the Houston Texans, there's only so, like you can project great. How many times is he going to win you a tournament?
Yeah.
He's just because he's on the Texans. It's nothing against Dameon Pierce. It's just, it is what it is. That's how kind of football works. You know what I mean? And so if I'm going to go that way to an offense I don't really trust, give me the top 5 running back in the NFL, Jonathan Taylor, top 3, top 2, give me the superstar guy.
Yeah, I'm fading Pierce on both sides today. Just not that I dislike Pierce, but just the ownership's a little bit out of control. There's other plays that are either cheaper than him or right around his range that I just like way better. So to me, Dameon Pierce is like the easiest fade today. RIP to me at 105 after he rips a 60-yard touchdown, but I'm fading Dameon Pierce today.
Because he's really good. The matchup is good. I get it. Like, I get why he projects well and all that, but I do think there's enough other running backs this week to pull. Like, I'm not worried about Dameon Pierce. I mean, like you said, when I tweet out a coffin emoji or the GIF when the guy closes his laptop and throws it out the window of his apartment, that'll probably happen later when he scores. But I feel comfortable with the process. One other running back I want to talk about really quickly is Tony Pollard, and then we'll hit some of you guys' questions here in just a second. How are you handling Tony Pollard? I know everybody seems to be moving towards like total assumption that Zeke is out with it, which, I mean, you kind of see this projected ownership at 20%. I'm kind of treating it that way, but I'm struggling with how to handle Tony. I feel really good about a lot of this other stuff. We're on the same page with Pierce. We're on the same page with the Chiefs, etc. But I haven't figured out how to handle Tony Pollard. How are you approaching him today?
Well, he's almost a lock button, right? Because we're getting the Zeke news late. So that's going to suppress his ownership somewhat, maybe not a ton. But if he was a lock when we knew he was the starter a couple weeks ago, he's definitely a lock today. The only thing that I'm looking at is if I'm not playing Pollard on a lineup, is CD like a great leverage play today? Is what I've been looking at.
Do you think Pollard gets enough ownership because people love him, rightfully so? He smashes every time Zeke is out, and he's just good at the game. But like, do you think he's going to get enough ownership because we're all excited about the possibility, likelihood, I don't know what I would classify it as, that Zeke is out, to where then you're getting like CD is also like kind of like leverage off of Amon-Ra at a similar price, so, and then he's leverage off of Pollard potentially. Do you think Pollard gets enough ownership for that to matter, or no?
I mean, we're projecting him at 20% right now, and I think that's probably low. We're probably looking at 25-30% Tony Pollard, because the other thing about Tony Pollard, for those of us that do like the Galaxy brain, he's one of the few 4:00 starts that you can actually play, right? Yeah. So if you're dead, you're like, okay, well, I guess I can swap off a Tony Pollard now and try to win something here. But yeah, I think maybe if you're looking to get some leverage, CD, what's his ownership coming at? 11%. So it's not like sub 10%.
This is on FanDuel. I'm going to click to DraftKings really quickly because I think it's far lower.
So I have DraftKings up. It's 9.11% right now.
See, I would take under. I would take over on Pollard and under on CD.
Yeah, because it's tough. It's tough to live in that range. And like you said, like Amon-Ra is like at 26% right now. So why wouldn't you rather play CD over Amon-Ra? I like Amon-Ra. Like he's great, but 26% when we can get CD Lamb, comparable player, like potentially better player at
similar target. I know Amon-Ra has great target share and all that, but like they're pretty close.
Yeah,
like they're pretty much the same to me. I would treat them the same.
And we're talking about $100. We can find 100. I know we're pinching pennies on this slate, but
that's why you play MVS over DPJ. He's 200 cheaper. Now you can play CD over Amon-Ra. This is a good point by Jonathan. Definitely, like trust me, I'm a card carrying member of the Tony Pollard fan club, so you're not going to get me to say anything negative about him. In these situations, my brain always goes to, in these situations of uncertainty, if everyone is assuming Zeke is out and Pollard is the nuts, I start to just think about like, well, what if that's wrong?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so if the opposite is also true, if Pollard's definitely going to get some ownership because people are going to try to plan for it.
Mm-hmm.
But if he doesn't get enough, like he should be the chalkiest running back on the slate if we knew Zeke was out right now, right? I think we agree on that.
Absolutely. Cash game lock, right?
Yes. So if that's not going to be even close to true, well, then I just want to play him because, it's kind of that balancing act of we got to read our opponents. What are our opponents going to do? And I feel fairly stuck in limbo land on the Tony Pollard one because people want the projection to be able to say. And so is everyone going to take Zeke out of their projections, right? Or are they going to play this middle ground in which if they play the middle ground, Pollard will get ownership, but he will not get enough, And so because at the end of the day, it's binary. Zeke plays or he doesn't.
Yeah,
Zeke gets work or he doesn't. But if we try to middle it in our projections, that's what throws off Pollard's what efficient ownership should be. And so he's the biggest kind of swing point to me. I feel good about the games we're targeting and some of these other kind of hottish takes like JT or whatever. But Pollard is the big swing for me because also, you can get an ETN for a little bit more in the game that we love. You can get Kamara for a little bit more in without Mark Ingram. So there's a lot of interesting plays in that range. So I'm figuring out what to do with Pollard. Are you going to take a big stand on Pollard then?
So what I'm probably doing for my 3 main lineups, I have the 1 p.m. only, so I don't have to worry about that at all in the 1 p.m. only lineup. But my other 2 single entries, I'll probably play CD on one team and I'll probably play Pollard on the other. It's just they're playing Green Bay, what's Green Bay going to do? Like it's all lining up for a Pollard game in the sense that I can't even imagine Green Bay scoring more than 14 points in this game.
No.
So it's just like Dallas is just going to run the ball to get out of there after they put 21. It's just, did CD put 14 of that 21 on the board, right?
Yeah.
Running some of these slant routes or something like that. Did he get 8-9 catches and then they're, kind of just trying to get to next week so that they don't get Dak hurt for the 8th year in a row, which they already did this year. But yeah, so that's what I'm looking at. I love Pollard. There's just so many running backs plays that you brought up that I like. I like Kamara a lot. Kamara feels like such a smash today. Saquon feels like a big smash to me. I'm trying to get some Saquon. Jonathan Taylor, I don't think he's a necessity with the quotations of Pollard's a cash game lock, but in tournaments, I don't think I have to have Pollard, and the ownership is going to be a little high. So I know I'm riding the fence on this, but that's kind of how I'm playing. It's
hard
too.
He's the most difficult thing to decide upon today. I feel like I said, look, if you just made us do a 10-minute show, I would have spent 2 minutes on let's load up some Chiefs and let's load up some Dolphins. You know what I mean? And then we would have spent 8 minutes being like, well, are we playing are we biting the Pollard bullet or not? Because I really do think it's a very difficult decision to make. I think we're to kind of gavel it. I think my take is that he's not going to be as owned as he will be under owned, because unless we get word in the next 50 minutes, I think enough people will kind of leave Zeke in their projections just because we don't have official confirmation. And so people don't want to, a lot of the times with projections, sometimes you'll see it in any projection set, don't want to give a true, right. It's normally you're tempering expectations on your projections. We don't project Tyreek Hill for 29 fantasy points, even though frankly, the dude, is going to score 25 plus almost every single week, but we never project him for that many because, you have to weigh in all these other things. And so I think that's going to happen with Pollard, and that will keep his ownership in check.
Except for us here at RotoGrinders, who have some balls, and we took a stand, and we have Zeke listed as doubtful and only projecting 0.01%. So that's why you should follow us, because RotoGrinders has balls. That's our new tagline.
Clip that, Steve. Well, when we flip over the cards, and we see Dameon Pierce's ownership, I feel like we'll know about what if we flip over the cards and Damian Pierce is 10%, we're gonna be like, oh no.
Yeah.
No.
No.
Zeke's gonna play. We're like Zeke's gonna gut it out and get 20 touches, and we're all screwed because we played Pollard. But I think that's what we'll know. Two things. One a quick blurb. I got to pump, and then we'll get all these questions. I apologize to you guys for not coming back to the questions. If you're betting on any of these games today, or want to bet on NBA, NHL, college basketball, college football, scoresandodds.com, scoresandodds.com, our official sports betting partner. I'm biased. I put my picks in there. Myself and Fear My Turtle, Alex Harden, we've been putting in some college basketball picks that are on an absolutely insane heater. So a shameless plug for both myself and our sports betting products at scoresandodds.com. Like, they're all the RG experts, external sports betting experts. There's a massive team of people putting in tons of great sports betting picks. With what I love about it the most is you have to put in your kind of like total breakdown of how many units are you betting on this, but like, what's the reason for this bet, right? Like, you don't get to just go post on Twitter, oh, I like the 49ers -6 or whatever. You don't get to, like, why? Like, what's the reasoning behind it? So every single pick comes with so honestly, if you disagree or you don't like it or whatever, you don't have to bet it, but you'll see. I learned a lot from all these other guys reading the rationale for all of their picks, and I also make a lot of money following a lot of other smart people. So scoresandodds.com, make sure to go check it out if you're betting on the games today. Let's hit some of these questions.
Can I interrupt real quick? Can we
hit
on one more game, because I think it's kind of important too.
Go for
and I
Lions.
think I was going to say we need to hit on this Bills Vikings game.
Oh,
because
somebody was asking about that.
Because if Josh Allen was playing, we would have been all over this game all week, right? Because it's Vikings, it's Bills, it's two of the bigger offenses in the league, and they're kind of being it's an undersung game because everyone's worried about Josh Allen, but it looks like he's playing. So if he's playing and they're saying that he can't injure it anymore, does that mean that everything's in play here? Because it's a smash spot for Gabe Davis if that's the case. Like, if there's a Gabe Davis week, it's this week against this Minnesota secondary, right? So what do you do? Are you doing anything with this game, or is just everybody too high priced with everything else we have to pay for?
I don't currently have anything with this game. Again, full disclosure, I'm only playing 3 lineups. I should have said this is the 1B to the Tony Pollard decision, because like you said, if there is a Bills game with an offense that can push back a little bit on the other side and no one's playing it, I understand Josh Allen's injury. I understand the prices. I understand all of that. But at the end of the day, if we zoom out and we say everyone's going to jam Justin Fields, everyone's going to jam, these other games, like a Browns game. Like, I like the Browns game too. But like Jacoby Brissett, like we're gonna jam a team with Jacoby Brissett at quarterback that wants to run, like that absolutely just wants to run the shit out of the ball, and we have Josh Allen and his weapons, and no one's playing them. No one's playing Justin Jefferson. No one's playing. TJ Hawkins just got 9 targets and played like every snap on this team. He practiced for 2 days. He practiced more than Blake Martinez did last week. And goes in and dominates in his first game for the Vikings. I don't have this game. I feel worse about this than probably any other game on the slate, where we'll reach an hour into the slate and Josh Allen's got 3 touchdowns and Gabe's got 2 long bombs and Jefferson has 8 catches, and I'm going to be like, nobody played these guys, and I didn't do it. So I agree, it's a good thing. Is there anything that we are missing about the Josh Allen stuff? I'm obviously not, watching the news super closely as we're hosting this. Some people said he didn't come out for warm-ups. I just want to make sure we have the kind of the latest.
That's
info.
all I saw too, was that he didn't come out for warm-ups, but I assume if he's active, he's playing. Like, I don't think you make Josh Allen active for the game and not play him. This game scares me more than any of the other games. I feel like not having this game will absolutely bury me. Right? Like, this could be a Justin Jefferson 16 target, monster game, and he just is absolutely someone that you needed in your lineup on DraftKings. But again, it could be just them handing the ball off, to Devin Singletary and just trying to get out of there with like a close win or something like that. So I'm all over the place with this. I'm trying to find some Diggs teams. I'm trying to find some Jefferson teams around everything else I want to do. I have one right now with Diggs. I think I have one with Jefferson, but I'm not 100% sold on it either way at the moment. So I'm trying to figure that out. So I was hoping you were taking a stand somewhere on this one.
Well, what I will say is I really do. I think I prefer this game on FanDuel.
Mm-hmm.
DraftKings, I mean, it's tough to fit Mahomes. He's $700 cheaper than sometimes I've been finding it tough to fit like Tua. So fitting $8,600 Josh Allen, who may or may not be full strength or whatever, is tough. So I don't have a ton. I will say I really like Gabe Davis. Shocker, I know.
Yep.
But I think he's in kind of that Amon-Ra range, Juju range, right? He's in this range where nobody ever plays him. And he has, frankly, at least as much, if not more, upside than those other guys. I'll say Amon-Ra's got 40-point upside too. But Juju doesn't have the upside that Gabe Davis does. And no one's playing him in a, like you said, a good spot. All because we're like, scared off of Josh Allen. But like that doesn't mean Gabe Davis can't have a good game. And so he's my favorite because he can just be the total tournament breaker. And then I think I would say so like Hawkins and Gabe, like secondary correlations sound really good to me. Hawkinson sits in this weird range of tight end where everybody's going to go down to the Dolciches and the Moreaus, right? Evan Ingram's, these cheap tight ends. Or we're going to, well, if we're not going to do that, let's go get Travis Kelce, which I think makes sense, generally speaking. But TJ Hawkinson, again, he got 9 targets last week. He practiced for like 2 days with this team. Now he gets a whole nother week. They're gonna need to throw to score today. And so I kind of like the Gabe Hawkinson secondary play more so than like totally going in on this game.
But the Diggs revenge game, Eric. That's playing
true.
Minnesota, and he actually does hate the Minnesota Vikings. So
he's a crazy dude too. He's definitely going to be the spiteful kind of guy.
He's probably chirping that he wants a touchdown this game. So I would not be shocked. It's like I have to play Diggs on something. Just full narrative. Like I understand projections wise, be damned, but I occasionally have to go with the narrative street thing, and Diggs narrative for like a single entry contest feels good today.
Yeah, I mean, narrative for like, the PJ Tucker in NBA DFS because it's his birthday or he hates somebody is like the dumbest shit ever. But like, I mean, you're playing, you can play Stephon Diggs. Spoiler, it doesn't have to be for the narrative. He's a really good, he's really good. He's really good. So I totally support that. Really quickly, update: Josh Allen is now taking snaps from the starting center with the first team offense. Case Keenum is with the backups. So I would assume I would feel very confident now that Josh Allen is starting and playing.
If the Bills are confident, we should probably be confident, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think that they told us. I know we all panic and because we're putting our hard-earned money behind these teams and we don't gonna get. Yesterday I played Cedric Tillman in college football DFS for Tennessee. This dude, Josh Allen might pull this. It was senior day for Tennessee. He's a senior wide receiver. He like warms up, comes out in his uniform during warmups and does senior day with his parents. They go out to midfield and here's a plaque and flowers, whatever. He goes out with fully dressed in his pads, helmet, everything. Gets done, goes back to the locker room, comes out when the game starts in street clothes. He's not playing.
That's what I did for this show, in fairness.
So I played him, of course. Get a 0. But he pulled the old, the switcheroo on DFS players. So maybe that's what Josh Allen is doing. But I would feel confident in Josh Allen. For the last 5 or so minutes, let's hit some of these questions.
Sure.
Because there was a bunch, and I think we covered most of the games. We kind of ended up covering positions. We can maybe elaborate on tight end and defense a little bit more as we go through some of this. But Brad asks chalkiest plays today and like kind of thoughts on how you're handling those chalkiest plays. We talked about Dameon Pierce. We talked about Kirk. We talked about I'm trying to think of the other kind of. We talked about Amon-Ra a little bit. How are you handling Amon-Ra on the Bears?
I have Amon-Ra a little bit, but upon further review, looking at some of his ownership percentages again, it might be best to just go pivot off of him. As much as I love him and I want to play him, just in terms of single entry stuff, I mean, sprinkle him in, and if you're MMEing, for sure. But if you're single entry, maybe I just pivot off of him. There's too many good plays around his range to.
Are you playing Fields?
I'm not playing Fields. My only quarterbacks are right now Lawrence and Mahomes. Even on my MME stuff, I'm just circling that game. It's two high pace offenses. Like, it just feels like if it's ever going to be a week for Lawrence, it's this week. And like you said earlier, Mahomes is pretty much locked for 303 almost every single week.
Yep. I just think it's tough to get to Fields for me because the Lions are not going to put them in the scenario that they were in last week. Mm-hmm. And I know I think Fields is, if you told me pick one non-Mahomes and Allen, one non-Mahomes Allen quarterback that and you just need him to get 20 points, I think it would be Justin Fields. Him or Tua probably, but probably Fields with the running. I mean, he ran for 180 yards. It's pretty crazy. But that game, like, if you dreamed up two teams that want to just establish it and get the hell out of there,
yeah,
it's the Lions and the Bears. I mean, they're not going to throw. In my opinion, Mahomes might throw more passes than those two teams throw combined.
Oh, what a fun prop bet! What a fun prop bet that would be.
It's a dog. Obviously, it's a dog, but like, it's not that crazy. It's not that crazy because Fields is only going to throw it 20 times or whatever. Mm-hmm. So Mahomes is definitely going to, get it, but is he going to throw 50? So I think we're pretty much on the same page with all the chalk. Have no problems with Justin Fields. A Fields, Mooney, Amon-Ra stack makes total sense, but I just want to go elsewhere. Agree on the Jags game. This is kind of funny. We don't need to elaborate on it, but the my bullshit detector went off when Dayball said Kenny Golladay is going to be active and be a big part of the game plan this week. I'm sure. I'm very, very, very sure. We kind of hit on this OS. I think both of us lean a little bit more to the Mahomes side, or if you want to save down from Fields, the Lawrence side on the Chiefs Jags game.
Please just let this game shoot out. Just
please,
do what you're supposed to do for once. Just shoot out for once for me, please.
Please. If Josh Allen does play, are you off Devin Singletary? I wasn't really particularly on Devin Singletary anyway, but I actually think Josh Allen, I think people were going to play it the wrong way. If Josh Allen is in but limited, that's when you play Devin Singletary.
Right.
You don't play him when the offense craters because Case Keenum's in there. Like, you know what I mean? You want the guy who's going to get some more work, and maybe Josh Allen doesn't actually steal all the touchdowns. You don't want him when the offense sucks because Case Keenum's in there.
Right.
Trying to hit. Yeah, so many. There's just so many bots.
Can you believe that we didn't talk about, like, what if I told you that Arizona was playing the Rams at the beginning of the year?
We should talk about that game because it looks like both quarterbacks are not going to play. Are you doing anything with that game, or just defenses, or what?
Playing defenses, I guess, right? Like, what else are we doing here? It's sad. I want to play Hopkins. I want to find a way to play him, but Colt McCoy is their quarterback today.
Yeah. Yes. Colt McCoy and John Wolford.
Yeah. And McCoy's been in the league since what, 87? Like,
yes.
And he's still not a starter. I mean, he's probably one of the better backups, but what's that saying?
I think people will appetize or whatever word I'm looking for. Think about John Wolford because he does run. He's 4,900 on DraftKings, whatever. I just don't think we want to give up the raw point upside. He's not going to break the slate. Matthew Stafford couldn't do anything with this offense. He's Steve's playing Wes Welker.
It would have been nice if we had a lean on that backfield for the Rams. That would have been nice today if we could count on Henderson. But that rushing upside of what's his name kind of takes away some of the Henderson
Wolford.
Too. So, yeah, Wolford. So it's just I'm just not really touching it other than defenses.
Me either. I just can't mess around with it. The only other game that we didn't touch on that I wanted to hit super quickly was that we mentioned Kamara a few different times. We didn't talk about the Steelers side of things, and I do think the Steelers, honestly, all of them look like pretty interesting tournament plays to me. I mentioned Derrick Henry earlier, which makes me sick. Now I'm going to mention Najee, but Najee is 5,500 on DraftKings. The Saints defense is not good.
No.
I know that they shut out the Raiders, but it's the Raiders.
Anomaly game.
Yeah, Najee's, kind of the rubber's meeting the road here for Najee. He needs to do something, or Jalen Warren's going to take some work. I like Najee on DraftKings, and I think George Pickens is obviously a great wide receiver play. Pat Freiermuth looks like a really good tight end play. So I think that Kamara with one of those guys is a really strong tournament play as well.
I'm not against it. I just don't think I've done it. Like one of those situations.
I don't know that I'll have it, but I think it's like if you have George Pickens and Alvin Kamara, like that looks pretty good. That looks pretty good to me in that game today. Let's get out of here. So the crunch time folks can wrap you up. If you have any questions that we did not get to, I apologize. A lot to cover today. They will get you all squared away leading up to lock. Last thing, what's taking it down? I feel like I already know this answer from you. What's taking down tournaments today? One play, one stack, one roster construction, one conviction play.
Kareem Hunt 2 touchdowns.
Ooh,
that's where I'm going. I'm going Kareem
spicy.
Hunt 2 touchdowns, and it's going to be part of a Jags Chiefs stack, of course. That's what's going to win today.
Okay, I'm going into the Chiefs. We're going MVS. He's catching the long one today. Everybody's done with him. He's MVS. He sucks. He finally didn't get any targets last week. So people have been holding on because he was still getting targets. And last week it fell off. No Hardman. He's going to play a ton. He's going to catch a long bomb touchdown this week. Appreciate you, Marie. Sorry for going a little bit over. Crunch time, guys. Got you here leading up to lock. And maybe Rob and I, but I definitely will see you guys in week 11. See ya.
It's Chief. It's week 10, and we're talking Monkey Knife Fight, not just any Monkey Knife Fight, Monkey Knife Fight 2.0. Is it more? Is it less? Over? Under? Let's find out who we're taking a look at this week. All right, so for Monkey Knife Fight this week, I'm going to sit in this Broncos-Titans game where Jerry Jeudy sits at 55.5 receiving yards, and then we've also got Derrick Henry at 108.5 rushing yards. That's also a little bit higher than you're going to see him on other sites. But look, folks, I love this combination this week. The Tennessee Titans are going to be able to run the ball as they please. Jerry Jeudy, 55.5. Tennessee Titans, not letting anyone run the football. This Broncos offense is going to have to throw the ball down the field. Shout out to my guy, Britt Devine, for talking about this on the Prop Shop Show on Wednesday night. All right, folks, that's week 10 in the books with Monkey Knife Fight. Don't worry, I'll be right back for Monday Night Football.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Another week of NFL action. We're here bringing in the new week on RotoGrinders NFL Crunch Time. I'm TheLuuch here with TJ and Dre, and Steve is producing great stuff from Rob and Erik before us. Love hearing those hot takes. Love the Kareem Hunt hot take at the end of that show there. Drop your questions in the Discord. Hit the like.
Be quiet.
We got some dogs barking. We're letting the dogs out. We got Steve keeping track of mute counts and interruptions and dog barks. It's getting lit here on Crunch Time.
My bad. I thought I muted myself and I yelled and I thought I was still muted.
Oh,
that was awesome.
Notorious dog barkers on live streams, I think, that I work with. So I wasn't sure. I thought maybe you were yelling at TJ's dogs, and that was going to be pretty funny. But I guess it's, dogs are barking. Like, we got to get to some questions. Dre, what's going on? Right off the bat, what's your hot take of today? I want to hear it.
Well, my hot take of the day is I am playing a quarterback that no one is going to probably play today.
Okay.
I'll just mention him right now, Mr. Unlimited himself, Russell Wilson. So I think he is in a great spot today. And take those GPPs. Let's go.
Justin has left the chat. Titans homer sticking out. But the Titans do funnel the run, give up the pass. I see what you're saying. TJ, what's going on? Give me a hot take for today, right off the rip.
Hot take of the day. I wasn't ready for it. I was still laughing so hard from that comment. I was going to make a funny intro pretending to be Christy since she was supposed to be on the show today. So come back for me for the hot take. You know what? No, here's my hot take. You need 3 pass catchers with your quarterback today to win a GPP.
Okay. I like it. Before we dive into position breakdowns here, check out Scores and Odds. Everything you need. Sports betting under one roof. Check it out. Parlay IQ is awesome. It's going to change the way you bet on single game parlays. Dre's doing a bunch of great videos for the primetime games. If you're curious how Parlay IQ works, check his stuff out on scoresandodds.com. And of course, the FanDuel single entry series is back. Don't forget to reserve your entry on FanDuel. Got the $5, the $33, and the $100 tiers to get in on the action. And we have some RG guys putting in work in the single entry series leaderboard, it looks like already. If you're in a legal sports betting state, sign up for FanDuel Sportsbook. If you haven't, if you bet $5, you get 3 months of NBA League Pass so you can keep track of all your late scratches during NBA DFS season, which is always our favorite. I got dogs barking here too. I don't know if you heard that one though. So we have a parlay of 3 dog barks already, and we'll see if we can run the table today. Let's get into quarterbacks. Dre, let me hear who you're playing today outside of Russell Wilson, if anybody.
I am definitely playing on the quarterbacks besides Russell. I really think this is an interesting slate. The news of Josh Allen being ruled in is really kind of got me thinking a lot if I want to play him or not. But it's a UCL injury. I understand people say he can't injure it worse, but you can. Like, you can make it bad to the point where you have to have Tommy John surgery, and then you're out for the full year. So I'm not going to ride with him this week. I'll play his pass catchers though. So Gabe Davis and Diggs, I'll roster them. But I'm not on Josh Allen as a whole. But I do like Patrick Mahomes a lot in this spot. Tua Tagovailoa as well. Justin Fields. I'm even playing a little bit of Jacoby Brissett, Trevor Lawrence, and Kenny Pickett. That's pretty much making my whole pool of what I'm looking at today. I think that these other guys are interesting spots. Everyone's going to be obviously concentrated on certain guys, and I found myself being that way too. But you have to be different in tournaments if you want to win. So getting different with these guys in good spots against bad defenses or defenses that's missing a lot of players is the way to go, I feel.
TJ, what do you got?
So for me, I'm only playing one. I'm playing one lineup on DK, and I'm playing 2 on FanDuel today. And on FanDuel, I'm running Mahomes in my main lineup, and then I'm running Trevor Lawrence in my smaller one. Full stack on both of these sides, sticking with a game stack of this game. Playing Travis Etienne with my Mahomes stack, playing Travis Kelce with my Trevor Lawrence stack, and kind of going from there, trying to differentiate in a few other ways. Obviously, Lawrence is going to be nice and different, but Mahomes going to be the chalkiest QB on the slate in FanDuel, so I'm finding some other ways to get different in there. If I was MMEing today, Tua Tagovailoa would be a guy I'd really like. Trevor Lawrence, I'd try and probably triple the field on today. Josh Allen, just based on if I'm playing one lineup, if I'm playing 3 lineups, I'd probably be too afraid to get there. But if I'm running 150, I'd be getting over the field on that 7-8% we're currently projecting him for. And then the last guy I think I'd kind of be looking at for tournaments outside of Justin Fields, who, yes, he is a good play. I just like him more on DK than FanDuel. The other guy I'd be looking to quite a bit in tournaments today would be Dak Prescott.
Yeah, no, I like what you guys are talking about here. What's the stance on Justin Fields, Dre?
Whew, I mean, it's tough. Like I said this earlier, and I say this about every type of game like this. Divisional games are tough to figure out because it's either going to be high scoring or it's going to be completely low scoring and just a slugfest. So this game can go either way. But I love the spot he's in. But the Lions defense has been playing a little bit better lately too. So I do not mind being a little bit under on him. I currently am going to be probably at the field with him, maybe a little bit under, but I like these. I might just take my chances at these other spots. His rushing floor, as long as he's continuing to rush, he's going to have a good floor, especially at 6.5K. That's too cheap of a price to pay. I think, but he should be probably a little bit higher. So I think you have to be probably at the field with it. I would not be any higher personally.
Let's move on to running back here. 12:36 p.m. Eastern. We'll definitely get to your questions then, so drop them in there. Dameon Pierce is a DK chalk. Tony Pollard's picking up some ownership as well. Sounds like the Cowboys, allegedly, reports are saying they're going to ease him in. Ezekiel Elliott, that is. And then, of course, you got Etienne at a good price and he's been getting crazy volume. And Derrick Henry's been doing his thing with an anemic pass offense from the Tennessee Titans. So, Dre, talk to me about running backs.
Running backs is a very tricky. Like, we're going to have this Tony Pollard chalk now, which I'm fine with. I think it's a good play. I still think Zeke is, even if he plays a little bit, I think Tony Pollard will be the lead back in this situation. But I like finding spots to get different ways to get different in this position. Like, I love going with Jamal Williams here for Detroit, going against Chicago. I think you can attack it that way. I do also like getting well over the field though, Jonathan Taylor. He's too cheap for his price. 7.5K, I think is too cheap at 7K on FanDuel. It's too cheap for what he has to bring to the upsides against a Vegas team that had a couple people leave the team, pretty much just retired and decided they didn't want to play anymore. So I think you're going to just take advantage of that and be all over it. So I'm well over the field on that today. I'm coming a little bit under on a guy like Alvin Kamara, just because, like, I understand it's the Steelers, but the way to attack the Steelers, I believe, is going to be more so the secondary, because they also just got back T.J. Watt. T.J. Watt is a full go, no restrictions, and going to play. I think he can wreak havoc on that front line. So I would be a little bit underweight on Kamara today personally, and get a guy and go to JT, who's going to be significantly cheaper for $100 more. I'm also going to be a little bit underweight on Dameon Pierce. I understand he's a good play. But I'm just trying to get different. I'm trying to win tournaments. I'm not trying to just, make cash here. So I'm taking a little bit of a stance by going a little bit underweight on him. But I love to go with the guy like David Montgomery here today as a pivot off of him going against Detroit. So pretty much well over that. I do like Jeff Wilson a lot as well today. Obviously, you got to love Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley as well. And you can sprinkle in some other guys like Chubb or Josh Jacobs. But those are the main guys I'm sticking to today.
TJ, talk to me about running back.
Very small running back pool for me today. Derrick Henry, Nick Chubb, Alvin Kamara, Josh Jacobs, Travis Etienne, Dameon Pierce, Dalvin Cook, Jonathan Taylor, Tony Pollard, Kareem Hunt, Devin Singletary. Out of that group, my favorite is going to be Tony Pollard, Jonathan Taylor, and Travis Etienne. Those are my big three today. That's kind of my running back core. And then especially on FanDuel, where you got Taylor nice and cheap, I'm playing him over there. On DraftKings, where you got Dameon Pierce cheaper and Alvin Kamara cheaper, I'm prioritizing those guys a little bit more. But I think Devin Singletary is a phenomenal tournament play today, because Josh Allen is starting, but who knows how they're probably not going to be throwing the ball 40, 50 times with him. I could see them leaning on Singletary a little bit more. And so, especially on FanDuel, where you got that touchdown equity, I would rather play Singletary probably over there, but I like him quite a bit today as well. We got almost 500 people watching. We got to smash that like button over there. We'll give some crazy hot takes if we hit 150 like button. Maybe we can even give away a free week of RG Premium at 200 likes. What do you think, Luke?
Yeah, I don't know. Let's see if Steve can give us the green light. We're going to move on to receiver, but before then, I don't know if you've ever played Stat Hero before, but it's an interesting twist on DFS. You play against the house. You don't play against each other. But if you go over to Stat Hero, the reason that I'm wasting our time and bringing this up is because it's not a waste of time. We have a promo code, Grinders, all caps, GRINDERS, 50% deposit bonus up to $250 on Stat Hero. So if you're looking for some late action on Sunday, check out Stat Hero, use the promo code Grinders and all caps, and you got a deposit bonus waiting for you. So wide receiver, Dre, what do you got? Let's talk about it.
Wide receivers, a lot of good plays. Justin Jefferson is one of them. I'm well over the field on Justin Jefferson today. I think he's in a fantastic spot. This Buffalo secondary continues to be hampered by guys with injuries, so I think he's in a great spot today to have a good game. Tyreek Hill obviously is the number one player, 9.1K. I think you have to roster him or someone from from this Miami office. You have to roster whether it's him or Waddle. I love both of them. Diggs in a revenge spot. I don't mind taking some shots on him, as well as Adams. Chris Olave, I think, is coming in under own, but I also think he's a great play today as well. Against his Pittsburgh secondary. I think we have Fitzpatrick just had to have an emergency surgery that he's going to leave him out for a little bit. So they're going to be without him. That's going to weaken their secondary a little bit more than what they already have been. So I think Chris Olave is a great play. I love getting to a guy like Jared Judy, Cortland Sutton, Deontay Johnson, and pretty much that whole 6K range is where I want to live at a little bit. If I'm going a little bit lower, I'm going to take some shots on Kadarius Toney today, and Pickens. I'm really high on Pickens today as well, and Chase Claypool. And I don't mind DPJ and Mac Hollins at high ownership. I think is kind of honestly a must play today.
TJ, wide receiver. I heard Chase Claypool like that. Think he gets more involved? Justin Fields is a hot commodity.
Yeah, he has to get more involved. This second week there, it should be. Same thing with Tony. That's why I expect big games from those guys.
You want to hear something crazy? What I'm doing is I'm playing on DraftKings Justin Fields with Chase Claypool, Darnell Mooney, and Cole Kmet, because lots of people are going to be playing Fields over there today, and I need a way to get different. So I'm just hoping these touchdowns or touchdown passes rolling with all three. But I agree with basically everything Dre said. And the only other thing I really want to emphasize is these Chiefs receivers. Like, if I'm playing cash, yes, I'm looking at somebody like Amon-Ra St. Brown, Tyreek Hill, and Matt Collins. That's a pretty easy way to fill out a lineup. But Mecole Hardman is out. And so we have the chalkiest QB on the slate in Patrick Mahomes, the highest projected QB on the slate in Patrick Mahomes, but not getting very much ownership to Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Kadarius Toney. Juju Smith-Schuster is getting over 10%, but he's also the most expensive one. If I was in like single entry, 3-entry max, I love Valdez-Scantling and Toney today. They're two of my favorite salary-saving options on the slate. And then if I was running 150, I think I'd even include Justin Watson and Sky Moore in my player pool as well, getting in some Patrick Mahomes stacks there. So for me, it's all about stacking today. Like some individual guys I like are those Chief ones, Hollins, CD Lamb as a pivot off of Tony Pollard, Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill. But for me, it's all about stacking. I love playing some Zay Jones, Christian Kirk, Marvin Jones Jr. with Trevor Lawrence, get my CD Lamb alongside Dak Prescott. I'm not going to consider really any of these Arizona guys or Rams guys with their QBs missing. But I also like the Gabe Davis call as well. I don't think I'm going to pay up for Stephon Diggs with Allen if I'm not playing Josh Allen. In Josh Allen lineups, I would play Diggs, but outside of that, I think I'd rather just take a shot that Davis is the big touchdown guy today.
Wow, like that bold stuff. What's your lean on Josh Allen? I mean, he finished that game and threw like a 50-something yard pass through the air last week. So I don't know. I just feel like he's fine. Since we're talking about wide receiver, and Gabe Davis had one ceiling game, and that's it. Is today the second one? I mean, that Vikings pass defense is not very good. What do you think, Dre?
It can be. It definitely can be, as long as he as long as like Josh Allen is completely fine, I think he can definitely have a big ceiling game. I like taking the chances on it, especially if he's playing. Especially if you're like running like 150, I feel like you have to factor that in and think about it a little bit. So like even if it's like 5% of Gabe Davis, that's fine in my opinion in your lineups to just go with it and see what the results turn out to be, because it could pay off. Honestly, we just don't know until we actually see it.
All right, let's move on to tight end. 12:46, making pretty good time. Hope to have about 10 minutes for questions. So, tight end, you have Travis Kelce in a very good spot against Jacksonville. You're going to be paying for him, though. Hawkinson jumped right in that Minnesota offense and received a ton of volume last week. Zach Ertz, we don't know the quarterback situation there. It doesn't look like either one of them are going to play. Freiermuth, Greg Dulcich, some value options, Foster Moreau filling in for Darren Waller. So tell me a little bit about what you're doing. We'll start with TJ for tight end.
So for me, Travis Kelce is the guy by a very wide margin just because of how much Mahomes and Lawrence I'm playing. But if I'm not going with him, the only guy I'm really fond of rolling with outside of a stack is going to be TJ Hawkinson. I think he's in a very great spot today. He's got a ton of targets in his first game for Minnesota. And outside of that, I'm really just looking to stack up with my QB. Like, I think Greg Dulcich is very interesting to pair with a Russell Wilson call that Dre talked about before. Foster Moreau is somewhat interesting. He wouldn't be a stack for me. He would just be if I need to save salary and plug him in. But I think I'd rather go crazy cheap with somebody like a Kyle Granson if Mo Alley Cox happens to be out, or just stick with a stack with an Evan Ingram with Lawrence, a Mike Gesicki with Tua Tagovailoa. But for me, it's really just Travis Kelce by a lot. Like, that's the guy I'm rolling with today. It's kind of an ugly position, and Travis Kelce should get even more touches than usual without Hardman out in a high-scoring, fast-paced game.
Okay. Drake, tight end?
Travis Kelce is the top play. I love him today. I like getting a little bit of Greg Dulcich as well. Probably be over the field with Greg Dulcich. I think that's a good matchup there for him. It's not really many other guys I'm really trying to get to. Like, I do like I like Foster Moreau a little bit. I like Evan Ingram in this matchup against KC. But other than that, I'm just going to probably try to stick with the main guys at tight end. Those main three. I like Gesicki too as well. That's pretty much it. I like my tight end pool, even though it is kind of large. I'm just kind of narrowing it down as I right now go through and pick my lineups out.
All right. Any thoughts on defense at all? You guys got any favorites?
Pittsburgh Steelers against my New Orleans Saints.
Is this the week we get some Jameis in the second half, Dre? What's your call here?
I mean, we should get Jameis the whole game. So we should have been on Jameis. I don't understand what's going on there. The coach tilts me so much. I hate it. It bothers me a lot. But we could, and I hope we do. But I still think that that Pittsburgh defense, it can definitely get to a guy like Andy Dalton today. So I love them a lot.
TJ, any defense leans?
I would sprinkle in some Steelers as well, but with Minka Fitzpatrick out, I'm not as high as them as I was earlier on the week. And I think I would go the Rams and Cardinals in 80-90% of my lineups today.
All right, let me dive into the Discord. We'll start with some questions. DK Cash, Dre, are two tight end builds still viable for cash on the way to go this week?
As long as Kelsey's one of them, yes.
Okay. FanDuel Cash question, TJ. Michael Pittman Jr., Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, or Darnell Mooney for the last piece in?
Mooney, Sutton Jr. Who's the last one? Sorry, Mooney, Sutton Jr. And
Pittman, Jeudy, Sutton, Mooney.
Pittman, Jeudy, Sutton, Mooney. Probably Mooney.
Okay. I'm scrolling and fighting through the spam in the YouTube chat, guys. So if I missed something, again, I apologize. Let's see. Another cash question with similar players in that range. Pittman, Judy, Mooney, or was there anybody else in that price range on FanDuel, TJ, you'd consider? I can come back to you if you want.
Pittman, Judy, Mooney, that's just hold on, sorry. I have it specifically in my player pool. Those guys are the 6.2 range, 6.4. If you can get up to Gabe Davis, that's who I would go with. And if not, I would rather just try and save salary and upgrade somebody else, go down to a Marquez Valdez-Scantling or Matt Collins.
Okay. Hey, Dre, what do you think about Daniel Jones today in that Giants-Texans game for tournaments?
I had him at first, but no, I moved off of him. I'd just rather go with Saquon.
Okay, yeah, we didn't really talk a lot of Saquon. Thoughts on Williams at RB for the Rams on FanDuel, trying to get some higher price guys. And the Rams backfield, kind of wish we had a lean on it. You figure they're going to want to run the ball a little more if Stafford's not going to play, if that's the case. But between Henderson and Akers and running back XYZ there, it's been a complete headache here. Do you guys have any thoughts on the Rams backfield?
Not worth it on this slate. Like, we got too many other good plays. Just pivot elsewhere. I think that's a little too cute.
Agreed.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, here's a cash question. FanDuel cash. Damian Pierce or Travis Etienne?
Pierce. Sorry. No, Etienne. That's the answer. It's Etienne. I answered it Etienne in the YouTube chat, and I don't know why Pierce just came out of my mouth there, but Etienne is the answer.
Okay. FanDuel cash question. I'll leave it open to either one of you. Pick two between Donovan Peoples-Jones, Matt Collins, George Pickens, and Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Pick two.
Valdez-Scantling and Hollins, and then if you're scared of Valdez-Scantling, I would go with Pickens, but Peoples-Jones is the last choice by a fairly large margin.
Okay. Agreed. All right, Dre, would you rather go a solo Fields or a Mahomes stack for DK tournaments?
Mahomes stacks.
Okay. Okay, TJ, you answered did the Spidey Bombs hit yesterday? I love that.
I gotta get my guy did the Spidey Bombs hit in the chat just in case, you know. His question though was pick two between Barkley, Chubb, and Henry. That's Chubb and Henry for me today. Chubb is just going so overlooked, and I understand Kareem Hunt didn't get traded. He's probably going to get a few more looks now, but this is still Chubb for me over Barkley, and I think I'd rank it Henry, Chubb, Barkley.
All right. Let's see. Let me check the Discord one more time. We got some people typing in there. FanDuel GPP, Komet or Travis Kelce. Man, I think that depends on the rest of your line because we're talking about two tight ends at the like separate ceiling ends of the spectrum. I know Komet had a ceiling game last week, and I do have some Komet myself, but I think that's very lineup dependent. Would you agree, Dre, between those two tight ends?
Yes. You said Komet or who else again?
Or Kelce.
Yeah, I would. It definitely depends on the lineups you're running. Komet had a ceiling game. That's not liable to happen again, but I would run it in tournaments if you're running a lot.
All right. Let's see. We got some more people typing in the Discord. Get those questions in 1254. Yeah, these bots are definitely getting wild.
It just popped up on the YouTube page. It said this channel has been unhid by TJ Zwarych. I didn't even click anything. I just answered in a chat. I did not hide anything.
TJ's cleaning up everything.
But one that just might have got lost in all the chats. It said thoughts on Kamara, DK, GPP. I love Kamara on DK today. I think he's way too cheap. You get the point per reception over there. I think he's a phenomenal play on DraftKings.
Moreau or Ingram at tight end? I don't know if it's cash or GPP. I like both of them today. I bet Moreau is over 33.5 on Scores and Odds, by the way, this week. So pick a tight end between those two guys, Dre. Moreau or Ingram?
Monroe probably. Yeah, whatever. I can't say his name right now. Sorry.
It's Moreau straight up unless you have a bunch of Chiefs in your lineup. Then I think you run it back with Ingram.
All right, we got some questions in the Discord. 12:55 p.m. Eastern start wrapping up. DK Cash, Etienne or Kamara? Somebody, Dre, I'll pass it over
I'm
to you.
gonna say ETN personally. I think
So, Mike McCarthy, I'm reading some questions. McCarthy does expect Zeke to not play against the Packers. Man, who knows with coach speak
It's
nowadays?
Ezekiel Elliott unlikely to play week 10.
Right.
Oh,
I mean,
boy.
so if this was NBA, I'd say watch yourself because we know how the NBA coach speak is pre-lock. But
If it's me personally, I would have Tony Pollard in all 150 lineups if I was playing 150.
Green Bay does struggle against the run, that's for sure. Definitely. A couple more questions in the Discord. DK Cash, St. Brown and Juju, or Tyreek and Mac Holland?
St. Brown and Juju or Matt Collins and who else?
Tyreek.
Yeah, second one.
All right. FanDuel single entry, TJ, Pierce or Jeff Wilson Jr.? I do like a little Jeff Wilson Jr. today.
Pierce or Jeff? Are those guys the same price? It's Pierce.
Pierce is very cheap on DK. And Wilson.
Oh, sorry. I thought that said FanDuel. Yeah, it's
it
still
does
Pierce
say
for me.
FanDuel. I'm sorry. You're right. It does say FanDuel.
Which Jeff Wilson Jr. is 6,500 and Pierce is 7,700. So straight up, it's Pierce. Point per dollar. I actually still think I like Pierce a little better.
All right. Would you rather go, Dre? Would you rather go for FanDuel single entry or FanDuel tournament? Excuse me, Chubb and Pittman, or Chubb and Sutton? So which receiver would you rather have?
Pittman, Chubb, and Sutton. Oh, Sutton. I'm not on Pittman at all today.
Is Treylon Burks viable for GPPs? I would say only if you're super, super desperate. Probably not.
I'd rather take a shot at a Chief.
3 targets, probably.
I'd rather take a shot at a Chief at I haven't looked at the direct price on DraftKings, but I'm assuming Sky Moore and Justin Watson are near minimum price. If you need a bare minimum guy, I'd rather take a shot there.
Yeah, no, I like it. Let's see. DK Cash, Moreau or Greg Dulcich?
I think that's probably Moreau.
I personally say Greg. I personally would say Greg.
I know, well, you're big on Russell Wilson, so that makes sense. FanDuel Cash, Rob, we might have answered this one, but we'll go back to it for you. Pittman, Judy, or Mooney, or someone else in that price range. I'm pretty sure we hit that. What was our thoughts on that, TJ? Was it Gabe Davis if you could get there?
If you can get there, Gabe Davis. If you don't want to change your lineup, Mooney. But it's either get up to Gabe Davis, or I would rather downgrade it and upgrade somewhere else to somebody like Matt Collins or Valdez-Scantling.
Okay. Let's see. Get back in our Discord here. All right, Discord is caught up. It looks like we're caught up. If we missed anything, defense question from Kevin. Rams defense, Cards defense, or Saints defense? Anybody?
Cards is my favorite from the point per dollar, but if you can get up to the Rams, it's them.
Agreed.
Okay. I think we are pretty much hitting on everything right now that's coming in. So we definitely appreciate you guys tuning in. Taysom Hill and DK tournaments, anybody?
He is quarterback, right? No, he's quarterback. No, not today.
Not today.
I'd play him in the tight end position if I was running 150. That's it.
Okay. All right, and we are at 12:59, so we're just coming up on lock here. Has TJ seen Black Panther 2 yet?
Oh yes, we both saw that Thursday night.
Yeah, we talked about it after too. Dre and I were both on the FanDuel Friday show for NBA and NFL on Friday, and so got my FanDuel shirt on right now actually. And we talked about it for about 20 minutes before we started. But yeah, it's something incredible, and tears the entire time. It's emotional, it's action packed. It's pretty incredible. They had a very, very difficult task making a sequel to that movie after Chadwick Boseman's passing, and they somehow just knocked it out of the park.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, I saw your tweets. We did a show, and I was like, I know TJ is going to tweet something after he sees it earlier this week. So we hit 1 o'clock lock, guys. Good show. We hope we answered enough questions. I think we got to all of them. If we missed any, that's on me. I'm sorry. We tried. I think we gave a lot of good stuff here. It should be a hell of a week, folks. This should be a hell of a week. A lot of huge games, a lot of new faces getting acclimated in new places. And you got some action in the YouTube chat for Mr. Papa Giorgio. TJ, I'll let you address that before we get out of here.
Yeah, so I'll answer it out loud instead of in the chat. I haven't followed CFL as closely this year because since I just so I used to actually be when I was in 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th grade, I was a senior writer for Bleacher Report for the CFL. And I used to follow it very, very closely, but since I've gotten into DFS, it's just a bit of my brain space is just needed to be used for statistics and other things as opposed to CFL. So I haven't followed it as close, especially since the Saskatchewan Roughriders have been very, very poor this year. I had a disappointing year, but I think the Bombers are so damn dominant that I can't imagine them losing. And the East game, I honestly just don't know.
Hold on, is Taysom Hill starting or something? Because why are we getting a lot of Taysom Hill questions?
You're the Saints guy. You telling me, Saints?
That was the same Taysom Hill question in the YouTube chat.
Okay, I was gonna say because I'm looking everywhere. I don't see Taysom Hill starting anywhere, so it's just confusing me and scaring me. I'm about to say because yes, if he started, you lock that guy in.
Steve, are you here? Do you have any hot takes? If you're here, blast us on the banner or pop in quick before we head out of here. I love a good Steve Hoffman hot take before we head out of here. If he's not, that's fine, but we'll give him a minute.
I just can't wait for these ownerships to come out because I'm just very interested to see, like, with all the ownership going to Mahomes, how much we're going to see on these Chiefs receivers outside of Travis Kelce. I'm very interested in that. I think I wish I was playing higher dollar today just because I've been busy. We've been fostering a dog. I think he's getting adopted today. Picked up this crunch time show at the last minute, so I didn't play as heavily as I wanted to, but I think I have a very nicely built stack that I'm interested to see how it rolls.
Waddle first touchdown in a Dolphins game.
Love it, Steve. Hot takes from producer Steve.
I got a question real quick for you guys, even though it's already lock. Juju or Christian Kirk for $1 billion?
Depends on the rest of my lineup, but I think Christian Kirk.
How many touchdowns are the Chiefs leading by in the first quarter?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's tough. I mean, you go Kirk, you got Zay Jones is there too. One of those guys could pop off. And,
I got Juju in my lineup. I was wondering if I should have switched. If I Russell Wilson lineup for Billy Baker, I got Juju in it, but I was trying to figure if I should get Kirk or not. But it's too late now.
So how I did things is I have my DraftKings team today is Justin Fields, and I have Juju as a one-off in that lineup. And then on my FanDuel lineup, I have Patrick Mahomes without Juju, and it's with Kelce, Valdez-Scantling, and Kadarius Toney.
Well, boys, best of luck. Jags just recovered an onside kick, says Papa Giorgio. Here comes Christian Kirk right down the field. Trey.
Onside kick to start the game. You love.
I don't have the TV on yet. I didn't even get at it. And on that note, we're gonna have to go watch some football. So yes. We appreciate all you guys for sticking with us all morning. Big shout out to everyone that was on the streams today at RG. Big shout out to Steve. Thank you for everyone. We hope we could help you out a little bit this morning. So for Steve, for Dre, for TJ, and all of our barking dogs, I'm TheLuuch. We'll see you later and good luck.